Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all the listeners of the Good Anime Palette podcast. This is Will, as always. If my voice is kind of fluctuating in between being quiet and being loud, sorry. We're doing this fucking live. I'm actually having to hold the microphone because a certain somebody forgot to bring their microphone stand. So this is what we're going to have to do. This certain someone would happen to be my co-host, Jason. How you doing, buddy?
Gomenasai.
So yeah, apologies if our janky setup is a little bit more janky than usual, but we wanted to continue recording anyway because we didn't want to keep everybody waiting for the next episode. Just to bring it back, we are on episode 30 today. So wow, that's a really fucking big number.
It is 30, and actually it's more because we do After Darks, we do bits and pieces, we do a bunch of stuff.
Just from the regular syndication alone, though, right? 30 is such a fucking huge number.
Hopefully it will be 3,000 at one point.
We've covered 3,000. I don't even know if we'll be alive at that point. But that's for a later matter to discuss. So
it's for future Jason and future Will.
With the 30 episodes we've done so far, 29 we've done so far, we've covered a wide range of topics. We've covered a wide range of discussions, themes, talking about directors and properties. So we'll get into a new topic later on. But as always, before we go into that, we're going to be going into our read and watch lists for the past couple of weeks. Now I've continued my manga train, my anime train.
I continue the manga train.
And you've also been watching some anime too.
Well, of course, this is the Good Anime Palette, right? You reminded me numerous times.
It's GAP, not GMP.
Exactly. Or maybe in the future?
Look, if we get the funding for it, then we may even start doing a manga one. We need to start building our manga collection anyway.
Well, I'll just show you my external hard drive.
You know that Calixes right now are like on sale again. So if you ever want IKEA, so if you want to buy like a new bookshelf, I've already bought one, but it's already been filled with board games, and like there's absolutely no space for anything right now. I don't even have space for any of my art books. I actually have them all in the other shelf.
Yeah, I see it now. Hey, call back to last episode.
Yep. So let's start with you. What have you been watching, or I guess like watching and or reading?
I will start with what I have been watching. One of the shows that people tend to overlook usually, or at least when it comes to me personally, is when the MAL score on my anime list reaches a certain threshold, my interest in it wanes significantly. But based on some friend's recommendation, I decided to check out an anime that premiered in the fall, as in fall 2021. The name of the anime is called Banished from the Hero's Party. I decided to live a quiet life in the countryside.
So this is based on a light novel, right? Given how long the title is?
It is. It is based on the light novel of the same name, written by Zappon and illustrated by Yasumo. And both the light novel and manga are licensed in North America by Yen Press. It is, as I said, an anime that premiered in fall 2021. One Cur, and produced by Wolfsbane and Studio Flat, which I think you told me like they haven't done anything really.
I think it's Wolfsbane that did Peter Grill.
Oh my god!
It's either Flat or Wolfsbane, but basically between the two studios, they've got 4 properties in total, and one of them is Peter Grill, and now the aforementioned Banished from the Hero's Party.
So this on my anime list has a 6.96, which is obviously at the threshold of a 7. But anything that has a 6 in the integer, I'm just like not like very.
At that point, you're venturing into like dangerous territory, right? Like it's going to be at a point where it's like, is this really going to be worth my time?
Right. But based off of a friend's recommendation, whose opinion I trust, and also trusts my opinion, I decided to watch this, and surprisingly, it is way better than I think a lot of people let it out to be in terms of the reception.
Right, so it came out fairly recently. I think it's not that long, right? One Cur only?
13 episodes. So the story is, as it implies from the title, is main character is a guy that got ousted by the hero's party whose quest is to slay the demon lord. I mean, isn't that like a generic storyline? Absolutely. So then after he got exiled from the party, he's like, you know what? Fuck all this. I'm just going to chill the fuck out and just go to like the town at the edge of the edge of the world and start apothecary business. And then slowly but surely, a bunch of characters start showing up from his past, and things become less slow and more eventful. I have to say, though, it is very interesting in terms of the kind of topics that they talk about that I did not expect such a show to bring up. For example, in this world, you have blessings, which is kind of like, if you have the hero's blessing, for example, which is what the main character's younger sister has, she is destined to be the hero. And because of that, you have to fulfill your destiny of the blessing that has been blessed upon you. Or you have the blessing of the sage, you have the blessing of so on and so forth. So it's very much like an isekai kind of thing, despite the fact it is not an isekai, which is interesting to me as well. And the theme of what you want to do versus what you're supposed to do as your destiny is a constant theme throughout. You mix in with a bunch of dark, grim shit as well, and really like kind of depressing stuff and gloomy stuff, and you get this anime.
So I had a quick look at some of the reviews for this anime, and it seemed that a lot of the criticisms for it were mainly when it comes to like production quality, maybe the pacing was a little bit off, not as much character development, but at the same time, like your perspective, these of course are all subjective reviews, right? And your perspective is different from everyone else's. So like, do you ever feel that maybe these main criticisms are a bit unfounded? Do you think people might be missing the point, or generally do you think it's just different tastes for different people?
I have to admit that the production quality is okay. Like, it's what I would say satisfactory. Like, it's fine, but it's not like, A1 Pictures is not Ufotable, but what is, right? But it's okay. What I would say, though, is there is a romance element in this anime, and the romance actually progresses to a point where a ton of anime, manga, light novels never get to. So I thought that in of itself is worth commending. I also think that there's a lot of things that on the surface, when you hear it, you're like, that's not that interesting, or you just brush by it. But when you really think about it, the world, the in-world lore is actually really fucked up.
In-game.
Yeah, I almost said in-game. Isekai shit.
But a lot of times whenever we talk about like fantasy, like light novels, for the most part, a lot of them are isekai based, and that's like, I guess it's like that reflex that we have, right? You see a long title, you see it's a light novel, you see it's a fantasy setting, it must be an isekai, right? But that's not always the case.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why I was really surprised, and I gave it eventually an 8 out of 10, which is obviously a far cry from the 6.96 on my anime list.
I think, like, given the score, like we could say it's a 7, but you're right in that there is still a big fat 6 at the front. So like, we can justify it being a 7, but for the most part, people will see that 6 immediately, like, nope, this is not for me. Skip or just drop.
I mean, we do that as well, or at least I have the tendency to do that. And
it's hard. It's hard.
Yeah.
It's like, for us, it's like we don't always want to attach like number values and like basically determine like this is bad, this is good. Don't worry. There are times where we watch a 7 and they could be great. There might be times where it's like we watch something and it ends up being a 6, but like, do we feel guilty about watching it? Not all the time. There are some that like end up being enjoyable, but I do understand the general sentiment is that when you see a number that's not a 7 or an 8 and beyond, then it can cause like some red flags in some people.
And furthermore, I think Will and I have mentioned this numerous times, which is on my anime list, the number scale is actually from 0 to 10. But I have to say almost hardly anybody really uses 0 to 4. Everyone uses 5 and up. And for me personally, I never rate anything 5 really, or I have rated maybe like a handful of things 6s. But mainly that's because either it was easy to finish or I just had to finish it, because anything 6 or below, I usually just dropped it already.
I've given some 5s, but those are because of the fact that like they were only like just under a cur or around a cur, so it wasn't like the hardest to finish. And it was, I don't know, there was a period of time when I was just like, I was kind of in that completionist mode. It's like, I don't want to drop it. I just want to at least finish it and give my full thoughts. But there are going to be times where it's like, if I know something is going to be like a 4 and below, what's the point in rating something a 2 when you know you're not going to enjoy watching it? You might as well cut your losses and move on to something else.
Yeah, and then you add in the fact that you and I are doing an anime podcast, so our time is limited.
Yeah, that's not to say that we only exclusively watch like the good shit, right?
No,
like,
I mean, I've read
in the end, it's just one of those things where like, we can choose to be selective. It's the same thing where it's like, do you want to get a Shake Shack? Do you want to get a McDonald's? Of course, like, any given opportunity, you would pick a Shake Shack. But sometimes, like, you don't have access to it, so you have to take the next best thing.
Or it's 2 a.m.
Yeah, and it's just like, well, fuck it. Like, I'm here right now. Like, am I just gonna pass it on the opportunity? No, might as well just go with it.
Hey, it's the McRib, man.
Exactly. There are gonna be times where it's like you go to McDonald's and you get a nice McRib, or like the ice cream machine is working, you get yourself a McFlurry. Perfect, but if you're stuck with stale fries, then like, well, fuck, like, you have no option there.
So, in conclusion, Banished from the Heroes Party is a surprise, a pleasant surprise, but it's not necessarily like, oh, it's gonna blow your mind. But it was definitely an anime that people overlooked, including myself, and I am hopefully would see more of it. Basically,
very nice. So I've been spending quite a lot of time watching anime, as always, and for the most part, it was mostly catching up on stuff that either I wanted to watch, either stuff that I had watched before, and wanted to just like finish it up, or it was, you know, a lot of stuff that's like based on recommendations from people. One in particular actually came in as a recommendation from Jason about a show that I've known for about a long time, and is releasing an upcoming season very, very soon. And the show in question is Kaguya-sama Love is War. So this is... let's just go through some of the general information first. So it released the first season in winter 2019. It's not too long ago, just over 3 years ago. But since then has also got a sequel, which is Love is War, but rather than an exclamation mark, it's a question mark. Both seasons are around 12 episodes, so one cur each, covering most of the same cast. And the best part is, well, aside from the content itself, produced by A1 Pictures. So it looks fantastic. The colors are vibrant. The character designs are very cute. I'd say that as much as like whenever you talk about character designs, it's kind of standard. They're not always going to be that different from each other. It does look really, really nice. I do like the way that the characters are drawn, specific to their style, and like the way they look very much exudes like what their characteristics and personalities are. So the main plot is basically following two specific characters who are respectively president and vice president of the student council of a very prestigious school in Japan. The characters in question are the two main characters, Kaguya Shinomiya and Miyuki Shirogane. So Shirogane, the male character, is the current president of the student council, and Kaguya is the vice president, the one who supports him within the same student council. Now, it sounds like this is, you know, going to be one of those typical rom-com student council kind of anime shows, but the difference is that when right from the beginning, most of the time, whenever you're talking about these kinds of rom-coms, the love connection isn't always there, and it slowly develops. And then once people start seeing it happen, there's a lot of that awkward, like, will they, won't they kind of things. Like, you kind of know they're going to get together at the end, but it's that journey that allows for them to develop their character, like drive the plot. Whereas this, on the other hand, like from the beginning, the character development and the love interactions are like declared right from the first minute. Immediately you know that Kaguya and Shirogane are in love with each other. They absolutely fawn over each other. They love the way that they hold themselves. They're very smart. One of them is extremely rich, but that doesn't really come into the equation. However,
yet
they don't ever declare their love for each other. And that's where the key part of the title is, where love is war. They do not want to admit defeat to each other by basically expressing their love to the other person first. No matter what, it has to be. If Shirogane confesses their love, he loses. If Kaguya confesses her love, she loses. And every single episode, it's mind games. It's literal physical battles. It's trials and tribulations and different hurdles that allow for them to basically navigate themselves through all these landmines of will they finally confess their love and admit defeat. And then along the way, they then start revealing more of the student council. So, for example, like Chika Fujiwara, who probably is one of the most bright and cheerful characters, not just in this series, but in all of anime. And if you ever see, of course, the show, it's called Kaguya-sama. But in sometimes, like, Chika takes the spotlight, hands down, 100%. I mean, if we even, like, skip forward to a couple episodes later, stick and watch the ED, the ending. I usually skip him, but this one you should absolutely not. Specifically episode 3. That's all I'll say. So there's a lot of like really good comedy, a lot of good like there's a lot of good like thriller kind of mind games, and it plays out really really well because of the fact that the character dynamics match each other incredibly well. Every character is very well written. I don't think there's a bad character at all, and it continues into season 2 as well. So I think I'll just go as far as that when it comes to the plot, because every episode is a kind of similar amalgamation of comedy, of thriller, of mystery, and of romance, just all bundled in a different game or a different challenge. I don't really have anything bad to say about it. I gave both seasons 1 and 2 a 9. Season 3 is coming out this...
in 2 weeks.
Yeah, so... Yeah, actually, at the beginning of April. So I think just at the right time, where I can give myself a little bit of a cool down and then get straight into season 3.
So I watched season 1 and 2 as they were airing and have nothing but good things to say. It is based on a manga, by the way, of a very well-known person called Akasaka. And this person is super meta and just likes to mess with their readers and stuff like that. And the manga is really good. It was on Young Jump still, and it has an 8.92 on my anime list. Rank number 16, popularity 25. So we're talking about the big leagues here in terms of manga. I read a lot of the manga. I gave it a 10 out of 10. And I have to say, though, about the anime, it is done superbly well. I have to give extra shout-outs to 2 things, which is the first thing is the opening. The opening of both Season 1 and Season 2 of Kaguya-sama is just pure joy. And the title sequence of both is just really nice.
You'd say it'd be a shame if the same singer, Masayuki Suzuki, didn't return for Season 3.
Yeah, it's
right?
like Linked Horizon with Attack on Titan. Like, I won't be happy, but fine. But it would just not feel right, you know?
Yeah. Well, you got 2 weeks to wait until the new season drops, so... New developments. They probably will I don't think they'll announce anything in terms of the OP until maybe a couple days before it drops. Just as a teaser to get everyone excited again.
I think they made an announcement that they're going to make an announcement. So everyone is like anticipating, including myself,
waiting for the announcement of the announcements. So it's going to happen soon. So everybody, just to get in preparation for the 3rd season dropping, y'all got 2 weeks. Y'all got time to basically watch an episode a day, 2 episodes a day, and you'll get into the mood and really, really enjoy the joys and wonders that Kaguya-sama Love His War can bring to you.
I will also say the second thing, which I want to mention about Kaguya-sama, which is obviously without spoilers, is that the show actually becomes more than just a romantic comedy, and at some point actually becomes extremely touching. And you people who watch it will understand how there are certain moments where it actually gets quite emotional and just is a really happy, wholesome kind of development. Like, I'm thinking about it right now, and I'm sure Will knows moments that are in, for example, in Season 1 and especially way more in Season 2 of just...
I think it just puts more focus on the word love itself, because it's not necessarily love between two people, but love for oneself as well, and it's essentially self-exploration too. So you definitely see a lot of those moments, particularly in Season 2. Season 1 is kind of like laying out the foundations, but there are quite a few touching moments, and Season 2 is just full-blown like emotion, comedy. It's at its height like one of the greatest rom-coms you can come across in anime and manga form, and I can't wait to see what happens in Season 3.
It's almost like someone recommended it for their After Dark 1,
Yeah, so it's a good one. Definitely go check it out.
All right, well, what else have you been watching?
Now this is the other one that's okay. So we were recording maybe a couple months ago. This is back when we were still in the studio, and during our lunch break, we were just wondering, well, we haven't watched anything in a while. What would be good to watch? Then Jason pulls out his laptop. It's like, give me a minute. Starts logging on to Crunchyroll, starts opening things up, logs in, and then types in Hinamatsuri. And I've seen the name before. I've seen the poster. I didn't really know what it was about. And within 5 minutes of watching it, I kind of lost my shit because I didn't quite process what I was watching, but I was also really, really fucking enjoying it. So this show came out a little bit before Kaguya-sama. It came out in 2018, in spring. So spring 2018, almost exactly 4 years ago. It was produced by a studio called Feel. Now, Feel isn't necessarily the largest of studios, nor the most renowned, but they have been working on another very popular comedy series, Snafu. I don't remember what the full name for it is. I'm not going to go into that.
Yeah, don't.
That might be something I may catch up on as well, because I've heard a lot of good things about it. But Hinamatsuri is essentially just pure comedy, but also with some very touching moments and actually some very good character arcs as well. So the story follows a character named Hina. Which is like essentially the half, because Matsuri means festival, right? I mean, I don't think it really fully means like the Hina festival. I think it's just basically the whole story.
It is.
It is really?
Yes.
Okay. So Hina, imagine Terminator, where this cyborg monster just comes out from the future, from a different dimension, and just shows up in your apartment or just out in the street, and you happen to be one of the lieutenants for a street yakuza named Yoshimi Nita. So this is just some very, very well-to-do, more business-oriented yakuza member, and he just so happens to bump across this little metal ball, and out of this ball pops this young girl named Hina, and he has no idea what the fuck's going on. Why is there a girl that just pops out in the middle of the street, and all of a sudden she starts using these like kinetic powers, it's psychokinetic powers to manipulate things around her, and this is like, wow, I have had a long day. I have no idea how to process all this, and then the girl just says, "I'm hungry, feed me," and then no, it doesn't. I'm not going to feed you. Get the fuck out of my house. Then she starts destroying his shit, and then at that point, he realizes, if this keeps going on, I'm going to lose everything in my house. I have to bend over and just succumb to whatever wishes she has. Turns out she really likes eating ikura, which are little like salty salmon roe eggs, and essentially then has to take her in, almost like adopting her, because if he didn't, she would probably end up killing and destroying him because she's almighty and powerful. But at the same time, Hina's, like, I could just say it, right? She's a dumbass. Like, dude, she's really fucking dumb.
It is one of those things where she is like this all-powerful alien being, but then on the other hand, she just doesn't give a shit.
She's a puppy, basically. She's just a young little pup that wants everything. But because, like, if you ever try talking to, like, a young pup or, like, any animal of sorts, they don't have any clue what the fuck you're saying. And that's basically what Hina is, because she's so young and so naive and innocent and so out of touch with things that she can't process anything that requires just a little bit of thinking, a little bit of brain processing. Her brain doesn't work. But at the same time, like, she has a heart. And so she always tries to do the right thing, but because she doesn't know anything can be the right thing, and it usually turns to be the wrong thing. But you know she means well, and she essentially starts growing, and like you start seeing this character, this relationship dynamic between the two, where it's like hard, business-driven, like very oriented yakuza member, and free-spirited but all-powerful alien sentient being that could destroy the world if she was out of control. And you just see that dynamic play out, and you start adding more and more characters into it. I can't add anymore because it'll just be spoiling everything, but it's a very touching story. I think it definitely, like, I mean, you have to focus on the comedy part. The comedy is absolutely fucking great. Like, I found myself laughing out loud quite a lot, more compared to Kaguya, but Kaguya is like a different kind of comedy because it requires like high like 420 like 360 no scope IQ level of IQ thinking, whereas Hinamatsuri is like you turn off your brain and just watch stupid people do stupid shit, but it also plays out in a really clever way.
Yeah, the dynamic between Hina and Nita is basically like parent and child. And they really, like, especially later on, really just be like, oh, yeah, that's your kid, right? And it's just like, yeah. But I have to say, though, my favorite character of the entire show is based on a manga, by the way, but Hitomi, I'll just say that. She is
one of her classmates.
And her character arc, I guess, if you can call it that, is just so funny to me. It's just hilarious. And
You know that episode where like the business cards are involved? Like that episode was a really fucking good episode.
dude, oh my god.
I will say this though. So Hinamatsuri, the source itself, as Jason mentioned, is a manga. Now the manga, I believe, ended 2 years ago. It ended fairly recently.
July 15th. Oh my god. June 15th, 2010 it started, and then July 15th, 2020 it ended.
So 2 years ago. Exactly a 10-year run. So it ended, and the anime itself came out I think 8 years into its run. So like 2018, that's when it did the anime, and it concludes pretty conclusively. It has a beginning, has an end, as all stories do, but it doesn't feel like it's kind of like overstaying its welcome. It wraps things up pretty well. However, I feel that there's still a lot more within Hinamatsuri that could be told. The issue is, because the manga is over, there's less reason for production studios and companies to push for a second season, because most of the time TV shows are used as, a very long advertising campaign to get people to buy merchandise and buy manga. But now, because the manga's over, there's less need for them to continue producing more TV series for the anime, for the manga. They can move on to other properties. That shouldn't stop you from going on to read or even just watch the first season. Like, if there's any metrics they can use to push for a second season, that'd be great. But just to enjoy the 12 episodes of Hinamatsuri, and if it's enough for you to go into reading the manga, I highly hope that everybody does their best to support this property. It's a really fun property, and I think it deserves to have more eyes on it.
All right. Is that all that you have watched that you want to talk about?
I'm done. I've watched a bunch of other stuff. I'm going to save it for the next recording, simply because I have either finished it, but I haven't really put together my thoughts for it, or like I'm only halfway through finishing it. So we'll keep it on for the next recording.
So I read a shit ton of manga,
as always.
A lot. I think I will periodically talk about them throughout the existence of this podcast. I will mention two right now. The one that I will mention first is called Her Majesty's Swarm, which is based on the light novel of the same name, illustrated by Iri Iwamoto and written by 616th Special Information Brigade. Yes, that is actually the
battalion,
moniker.
right?
Battalion, sorry. That's the moniker. The English light novel is produced in English by J Novel Club, and the manga, which the first volume came out a little bit ago, is by Kodansha USA. The storyline is actually quite simple, but I have to go a bit into my own personal kind of video game experience. So I used to play a lot of StarCraft. I also used to play a lot of Warhammer 40K. Now, if you were to know any of these properties, you would know that there is a sort of insectoid alien faction in both of these, with StarCraft being the Zerg and with Tyranids being in Warhammer 40K. The swarm, it's just massive amounts of bugs and disgusting, grotesque creatures and so on and so forth.
Shout out to all the StarCraft and Warhammer 40K fans out there.
So, this story is an isekai, actually, but they don't really care too much about the isekai part other than the transport part, which is this young girl who's really nerdy. She has been playing this StarCraft equivalent game for tons of time. They don't really go into it other than to say it's an exuberant amount of time spent on this game. And she plays the Arachnids, which is basically a race, that faction that is all about spiders and swarms and nothing but destruction, and she's really good at the game. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, she wakes up in front of a swarm of these spiders, and she freaks the fuck out, just like any other normal person would. And then all the spiders all of a sudden are telepathically talking to her and say, "Oh, our queen has, been revived. Oh yeah, all hail the queen."
Yeah, this just sounds like a terrible show. I'm not a terrible manga, not because it's bad, but I can't deal with spiders, so yeah, it's a no for me.
So long story short, she decides to be the queen of all these arachnids and realizes that all her knowledge from the strategy game that she devoted so much time into can actually be put into practice, and she is all of a sudden thrusted isekai'd into this fantasy world that is just nothing but filled with disgusting asshole people. Like, we're talking about like slave trading, we're talking about like torture, and to my surprise, the amount of gore and violence in this manga in the first volume is absolutely crazy. As in, like, torso heads get, like, it's like Tokyo Ghoul level of violence. I would say basically if Rize from Tokyo Ghoul and Kerrigan from StarCraft were to merge and have an edgy isekai story, you will get this story, Her Majesty's Swarm. I really like this manga, and it's really fun time. It's very bloody, and it's really fucked up. It's awesome.
I hardly ever hear you talking about edgy shows and edgy manga, but it's good to hear that, you know, amongst your manga reading, you've diversified and started reading more stuff that isn't just romance and fantasy and comedy and yuri, girl love.
I mean, there's a lot of that.
There's a lot of manga, right?
Okay. In the past 3 weeks, I've read 300 chapters.
Congratulations. In the past 3 weeks, I've watched 300 episodes of anime.
Really?
So we're on track.
Yeah, we're on track. We're doing good. 1-to-1. You know, Good Anime Palette Podcast is a partnership, right? All right. The last thing I will say before we get into news is...
Oh, boy.
I'm just going to say it. I've been reading Domestic Girlfriend.
Are you converted yet? Are you Team Rui Tachibana?
I mean, I was already before, right? I mean, well, look, we watched the first episode together, and you knew, like, I was just like, yeah, she's top tier kudere, right? But now I know more context, and I have to say, it's quite an interesting ride for sure.
It's good, right?
I haven't finished all of it. I'm like maybe like a third or 40% of the way through. So
you haven't got to the good stuff yet. Okay.
Yeah, I haven't gotten to the good stuff. I've just gotten to.
It gets really fucking emotional at some point, and when it happens, like I do want the play-by-play.
Yeah, no problem. But I was originally going to make this a surprise, but at some point I was just like, I just need to tell Will. I just lay the groundwork for. Because originally I was like, we should do a serious discussion, and funny enough, you were like, nah, dude, no.
I think because of the fact that like the tropes and the themes of Domestic Girlfriend is like kind of laid bare in other series, and other series do it really well. I think the one thing that like sets it apart is you know damn well like what's different about Domestic Girlfriend compared to other rom-coms or like romantic dramas. And so I don't feel like there's as much of a discussion, but we could definitely spend some time appreciating it because it gets a lot of flack for sure. And rightly so. There's a lot of things that are completely like fucked up and wrong about the anime and manga series.
Like morality and ethics, I guess, right?
Family is love.
Oh, Alabama, Sweet Home Alabama, my man. All right. But one thing I will say, though, that I think a lot of people will agree on and endorse is the opening of the anime.
Oh, it's fucking lit, dude.
The Domestic Girlfriend season 1, there's only one season, anime opening is just like the best. Like, it's so good. But anyways, yeah, tune in later while I reveal more about my progress with Domestic Girlfriend.
Yeah, this is the almost like your own like side project cleanup, right? Like you're just basically you started this a while ago, and now it's you'll have this journey as long as GAP exists.
Okay, so now that we're done with our reading and watching, we will now get straight into the news.
I think the first couple we can probably go over pretty quickly. In the No Shit Sherlock news section, Mushoku Tensei Jobless Reincarnation got a second season.
Yo, okay, what?
Fucking crazy.
Oh, I think the real question is not whether or not it will get a second season, which obviously now it does. It's
more like will it get
how many parts?
That, and also like would there be like an announcement where it's like a third season and a fourth season get confirmed, right? Because I mean the next bit of news is also like no shit, but also kind of what the fuck. If anybody's listened to, I'm not sure if I actually talked much about it because there's a show that I watched maybe around halfway called Classroom of the Elite. This anime came out 2 or 3 years ago, and all of a sudden there's been an announcement that it's not just been greenlit for one extra season, but 2 seasons.
Yes, for July 2022 and 2023.
Sometime in 2023. So usually we get it's almost like the Shield Hero announcement come out like that as well.
Yes, absolutely. The Shield Hero greenlit season 2 and season 3 in one go, which to be honest is extremely rare.
I think it's a very risky move because the reason why you have this Cur system in the first place, just a reminder, by Cur, we're talking about usually running over a span of 3 months, averaging 12 episodes. And most of the time it's used as a method for production studios and investors to gauge the popularity and the performance of a particular series. And if it reaches a certain metric or they can see that it has a potential to go higher, then you can start greenlighting more seasons. However, to right off the bat, greenlight 2 seasons straight up like that, you have to think that the studios themselves have a lot of confidence that this is going to be able to make a ton of money for the property, for the creators.
Because yes, you can go back on your word and just say like, oh, actually, like, no, we're going to cancel it.
Season 3, yeah, we can't do that anymore.
But at least from the get-go, to be that confident to say, oh, not just the next season we're going to greenlit, but the one after that, to commit to that like announcement is just quite, it's not only extremely rare, but very crazy. So Classroom of the Elite also is this based on a light novel of the same name. It's a show that I think the light novel is ranked very high.
The light novel is like gangbusters. Now, plot-wise, it's okay. Imagine it's like a less edgy like Kakegurui. So it's not focused on gambling, but rather like money and social status. So there's a lot of like elements that are shared between the two, but definitely fewer characters that are like as eccentric as like Jabami from Kakegurui. I enjoyed it. Again, I haven't finished it. I'm only 6 episodes of 12 for the first season. So
and I've not seen a single episode.
It's not bad. It's pretty good. I think like as we talked about before, right? It is very much within the middle of the 7 spectrum. It is a hard 7.5, and until I finish it, that's where it's gonna stay.
So these 2 seasons will then turn into the full adaptation of the whole series. Okay. Exactly. So that is also another thing that is rather interesting, which is not a lot of manga or
that means they're going
novel.
long on this. They're doing a hard bet that like this is going to be able to come into like, oh, we have just finished everything up. If you want everything, hopefully like watching this is enough for you to buy the light novel and any other adaptations they have down the road. So like they are betting hard on Classroom of the Elite.
So just to clarify, the cast added that the anime will adapt the original story's complete first-year student arc. So okay, not the entire series because the series is ongoing, but to commit to a huge chunk apparently of the whole story off the get-go is, you know, crazy.
And this is just based on our opinion too, but like from what we've seen, like we've watched anime for a long fucking time, and we see like how studios put these plans together to push material to get the masses to essentially profit from, right? So to see them being so straightforward and saying that they're going to give 2 seasons to boost sales, to boost profitability, it's a huge show of confidence, but there also is a huge element of risk. And I guess like Jason said, there is a safety net where like if things don't go well, they can always pull the plug on season 3, which would be like very shameful. They probably wouldn't do that, but there's that option.
All right. The next bit of no shit Sherlock news is Overlord season 4. They announced that it will premiere in July. I'm hella excited.
I've seen as well on my Mal app that like it keeps slowly going up and up and up on the most anticipated series of upcoming shows. I'm very much looking forward to it. But the issue is that now I have around, say it's March now, so I have 4 months to finish up seasons 2 and 3 of Overlord because I finished season 1, fantastic. Got to finish up season 2 and season 3 because I think that, well, I mean, like, there's a few more characters that show up in season 2 and 3 that, like, I think some of them are your favorite characters, and they don't really get much like showtime in season 1,
or they don't even show up. Period.
At all, right?
Yeah. But season 2 and season 3 just ups the ante. It's awesome. So I'm anticipating season 4 very highly. Okay.
Now, the next bit of news is an interesting one because I hadn't ever seen these awards before, but I'm not like surprised they exist. So, Media Arts Awards, that's a new one for me.
Okay. Do you know why I put this news in our docket? Because
Because Sonny Boy won an award?
No, because this is the Japanese government's Ministry of Cultural Affairs.
It's a big deal.
They have an award called the Media Arts Festival Award, and this is the 25th one of those. And in them, they announced a bunch of anime and manga to sort of celebrate media arts. And Sonny Boy won the Excellence Award, and Oddtaxi won the New Face Award. Of course, there are tons of more winners all over the place. Anime and manga is also been celebrated. For example, Dead Dead Demons, Destruction is a very well-known Japanese manga that currently is running. They won an award for the Excellence Award for manga. You can see the list if you just Google it. And but the fact that the government of cultural affairs, the Japanese government, is like, yo, these shows are tight, I think speaks volume in terms of not only the general acceptance and celebration of anime and manga, but just like, yo, guys, Oddtaxi is dope shit.
Do you also see as well that the CEO and president of Polygon Pictures got an award? Special Achievement Award from the festival. It's almost like a nice to have you here. Here's a participation award.
Look, it's a special achievement that Polygon Pictures can do 3D so badly, but then also...
Hey. Wow. You better cut that back, dude. You gotta get that negative energy out of this room right now, man. Polygon Pictures is not bad. There's definitely way worse studios than that. You just hate it because you don't like it.
Okay, actually, Polygon Studios is actually quite okay. I just like to shit on Polygon.
Just because
Pictures.
you can't wait to see another season of fucking Land of the Lustrous, which you know is never gonna happen.
It's never gonna happen.
So you're just being bitter now.
By the way, it's Studio Orange that did all the good 3D. Let's just say.
Okay.
I mean, they did Beastars, man.
Yeah. And how's that doing? Ratings have dropped.
Yeah, but it's like season 3. They announced season 3.
Yeah, I'm saying that it's just slowly going downhill because people just don't want to see more animal sex.
So do we, I guess. But
yeah. Have you watched it?
No.
Exactly. So don't start throwing Orange in there when you haven't even watched Beastars.
Okay. Our next bit of news is also rather interesting because I'll just say the headline. The Journal of Anime and Manga Studies is joining the directory of open access journals.
Now, this is actually pretty dope. I think that basically having like an open database that is used for scholarly analysis is I mean, in the realms of academia and research, you definitely need to have like a large database to be able to access information and data, and also freely share your research amongst your peers within academia.
Furthermore, it's really expensive, these databases. So
and now to actually have something that is dedicated to anime and manga studies is like we've talked about proliferation, we've talked about the popularity like growing in the masses, but now that it's actually reaching like scholastic and academic like hype as well, people are actually getting into it as a proper like research topic. It's pretty neat.
Yeah, so not only is there actually an academia journal dedicated to the studies of anime and manga, it is open access, meaning that it is free, so you can read it. You can read the actual journal. The first issue came out in 2020, and the second issue came out last November in 2021. So not a lot of issues, but this is just seems to be a very good start.
This is the start. It only came out they only started publishing their issues 2 years ago. I also like their acronym as well, Journal of Anime and Manga Studies, JAMS.
Yeah, I read some
sweet.
of the articles. It's quite interesting for sure. It's really weird when you see very academic and very formal use of language to address certain things in anime and manga. That is just, that disparity is really weird. Like, oh, the proliferation of isekai has reached a certain threshold. I mean, I'm paraphrasing, but it's just like, that's kind of weird.
Like physics and anime titties, right?
Oh my god, if they would ever they have to do an article on
I'm sure there is already.
Or cat girls, right? Anyways, so
we're almost done. I think we got 2 more things. We're leaving like the major one at the end. Should we want to talk about the next one? It's goddamn Gundam.
So Gundam is a big thing all over the world, especially in Japan.
Gundam are big things, yeah.
Yeah, they are huge mechas. They are mechanized robots that are piloted and have a long-spanning series of various spin-offs and types throughout the existence of anime and manga, period. And there is a life-size Gundam that is located in Tokyo.
Now, I mean, we've had like lots of these kinds of things where it's like with Ultraman, with Macross, with Gundam, of having life-size models of the mechas and the superheroes in there, like from the shows. This one's different though because this is not just a model. This one actually moves. It's a mechanized mecha.
Yeah,
It actually is a mecha.
that is crazy. And if you remember a while ago, Will, we had an episode news story where the backdrop of a bouldering athlete for the Olympics had a picture of
There's a Gundam in the background,
and
right?
everyone mistaken it for something else, like Transformers or
It
something.
was a Transformers, yeah.
Right. So, anyways,
I can't remember which American news. I'm sure that person need a little bit of education afterwards.
But that Gundam, that very same Gundam, has now won a Media Arts Award. So it's kind of crazy, dude.
Yeah. So it's set in the Gundam factory, like the Yokohama facility as well. So like actually just like very, very close to Tokyo. I think it's like an hour away by train or subway.
But did you know that, Will, there is not only one Gundam, life-size Gundam, but not two, not
four.
three, but four life-size Gundams around Japan. That's insane to me.
There was another one that actually debuted in Shanghai as well.
Oh, God.
So it's over in China. The fourth one, which is cool because it's set in Fukuoka. I've been to the shopping park that is in Fukuoka, so it's just nice that the Gundam is again like taking over everyone's hearts and feelings throughout Japan. Even I think Gundam in general is just huge.
Yeah. So basically now all that's left is we need to find a bunch of potential candidates and check their compatibility with the Gundam and then have them pilot the Gundam.
I mean, do we really know
then,
like that's how it works now? Because there's so many different options. There's Iron-Blooded Orphans. There's like the Hathaway Project. There's like, and then you have like the originals like Kyokai Senki.
I think they also announced like
Gundam Double
Witch.
Zero.
There's like a Witch.
There's so many.
Witch Garden or Witch Aqua
I think
Witch.
like there must be like 18 or 19 different variations of Gundam now. Which to be fair, like I've heard like good. I mean, like for example, like Iron-Blooded Orphans. I heard like really good things about it.
I quite like Double Zero. So
there's a lot, right? There's Gundam Wing, there's Double Zero, Hathaway. Look, if you like your mechas and you just like can't get enough of it, I'm sure you haven't watched everything because holy fuck, there's so much Gundam.
Oh, and don't worry, dear listeners, because Will and I is going to embark on this mecha journey at some point.
Will and I is going to.
Oh, fuck off. I'm having a bad day. I forgot my mic stand.
You is having bad day. But hey, no, you know what? Like we're gonna end off the news section with some good news. Well, I mean, I guess it depends on how you interpret his news, right? You like Naruto, right?
What kind of segue? That's like my level of dumbass segue.
But this is also like how do you interpret this news too? It's kind of hard to wrap your head around it because I think this happened maybe just under a month ago.
Oh, okay. So
yeah,
I quite like Naruto in general. I think Naruto being one of the big three.
It gets flack for sure because there's a lot of. I mean, the fact that like 50% of the anime is filler. And then the other 50% is just basically Naruto crying.
And look, we shit on Naruto even right now.
He deserves it.
But we cannot deny the impact it has. And look, Will and I have read it or watched it, so it's not like we hate it.
Oh, Naruto will be an important part of my weeb journey for sure.
Absolutely,
I cannot deny that.
You know, so it's not like, oh, I think I am better than Naruto, even though I think I am. But I can't have a part of me taken out without acknowledging that Naruto is an integral part of my anime and manga upbringing.
Yeah, which is why like this bit of news is like very like what the fuck for both of us because I just dropped this to you this like one morning. You're like, wait, and you spent like a couple minutes reading this. And you're like, this is actually happening, right? This is actually real, right? So this was I think one like just basically this was reported on Business Insider India. There were a few other news agencies that also reported on it. But this happened 2 weeks ago. In Japan, there is a large ancient rock that many believed contains the spirits of a malevolent 1,000-year-old fox, a fox demon.
Sounds familiar,
right? That's basically the Kyobi, right? It's the Nine Tails from Naruto. Well, guess what? That massive stone, it's split in two. It's completely shattered in half. And many lead to believe that this is actually the nine-tailed fox demon being released and now scouring across the earth. Meaning that Naruto's real, guys. Naruto is fucking real.
Okay, I have to read these direct quotes on Twitter, okay? I came alone to Sasaki. I can't really. Place of the nine-tailed fox legend. The big rock in the middle, wrapped around with rope, is where it was supposed to be. But the rock was split in half, and the rope detached. If this were a manga, it would mean that the seal is broken by the nine-tailed fox. I feel I've seen something that shouldn't be seen. Like, this is actually the tweet and quote. There are already signs that the fox might escape in February, wrote one Twitter user in Japanese. And
apparently because the fact that they took a photo of Mount Fuji and there were cloud formations that looked like a foxtail. Like, okay, this is definitely a lot of like crackpot theory.
We are not bullshitting you. This story is genuine, whether or not like.
Oh, there are pictures. There's like Google Map photos. There are people like posting stuff on Twitter. Even like the fucking like Museum of Natural Art even showed like what the Nine Tails looks like. The Ota Memorial Museum of Art posted like literally a piece of art that looks exactly like the Nine Tails. Because I mean, this shit came out like. Long time ago. I mean, I'm just looking at it right now.
No, I know. Will, imagine like so you see that picture, Will, right? Yeah. Obviously the listeners can't see. Imagine a wanted on top of it and it's just like reward if found. Like a lost cat. It's like, if you see Fox Spirit, please contact the Japanese government or relevant authorities. Oh my god, like it is hilarious. This story is just crazy on so many levels.
Well, there's also like, I mean, like of course, like, you know, the weebs and sort of the people who like love Naruto. Of course, we're gonna look at this and be like, this is like fucking crazy. This is some real Naruto shit. But then, of course, there are normies that have to rain on your parade, and there are people like, especially locals near it, that say that, you know, these rocks, they've been developing cracks over the years because of natural wear and tear. So therefore, it's just rocks to them. But to us, this is also just like, wow, I can't believe that we may have a Ninetales roaming the earth right now.
So you see here, ladies and gentlemen, the issue now is that Will and I, as scholars of anime and manga, have realized that if you're listening to this and you understand the words that I'm saying, means that you are of an age that cannot be the reincarnation of the Ninetales, unfortunately. Meaning, somewhere out there, some dude or some gal, because you know,
old ass dude like chilling in his room eating fucking ramen. It's like all of a sudden his stomach growls.
No, it has to be a newborn, right?
Then there'll be Boruto.
Okay, look.
Hey, if you find Boruto, kill him immediately.
Hey,
take that boy out.
Ninetales Demon, I know you're listening because of course you are. That makes perfect logical sense.
Don't make a Boruto.
Don't make a Boruto. Okay. Don't make a Naruto. Just make a Minato.
Minato's the father.
Yeah.
So you would.
Oh no, he doesn't have it. Yeah.
He's the one who controls it.
Okay, fine. Take Naruto. Naruto's way better than Boruto.
Yeah. To all the listeners who like Boruto, I'm sorry, but why?
Why do you do this to yourself,
man? There's other stuff to watch, man.
All right.
Okay, we have now come to the main segment of the first half, which is actually a lead up to one of our latter episodes. So in a couple weeks' time, we'll be doing our next anime closet cleanup. Now, if you remember the first time round, this meant that both Jason and I had to draw anime series out of a hat and basically consume them, because these shows have been on our plan to watch lists for the longest time, and we have no idea how the fuck we're going to clean them up. So, you know, Jason ended up watching Honey and Clover, as well as parts of
Nodame Katabile.
I don't even remember what I watched.
Eden to the East and Haibane Renmei. Will, on the other hand, has watched Kyoso Giga.
Oh yeah, that's one.
He has also watched Chihaya Furu. And also Kagushi Goto.
Yeah, I watched some good stuff. You watched mostly good stuff. I think it was Eden that was not too hot on that one.
Not too hot on that one. But the whole point, as Will mentioned, is that these are animes that have been on our plan to watch list. And we wanted to integrate that into the podcast so then we can watch a bunch of stuff that doesn't really have a lot of commonality other than the fact that they're on our plan to watch list. So Will has to draw now a bunch of anime, and now I have to draw a bunch of anime, and we will watch them in it for the episode that would be released in like a month's time.
Now, before we get into the draw, there is a bit of an addendum we need to make, simply because both of us fucked up. So, on my plan to watch list, I originally had a series called Land of Lustrous, which we talked about earlier today. Unfortunately, I decided, you know what, I really want to watch it right now. I'm just going to go ahead and watch it, not remembering that I had it on my plan to watch list, and Jason called me out on that. But turns out that Jason also very kindly reminded me that a couple weeks prior to that, he decided that he was also going to watch a series that he needed to catch up on, which was Mushoku Tensei, Jobless Reincarnation, which happened to be on his plan to watch list. So both of us had a fault, which means that we have to essentially accept the penalty. Not a bad penalty, to be fair.
Right. So the penalty from here on out would be that if you were to watch any of the animes that are on that list, because supposedly you're not supposed to until you draw them or don't draw them, the punishment is the other person can dictate whatever anime the other person has to watch in lieu of that one. There's no plan to watch limitations. It could be even one that you have completed, or even a sequel. Just no holds barred. You have to watch this, period.
Right. So in replacement for Land Lustrous or Hoseki no Kuni for me, I now have to watch Golden Time, which I'm completely down with.
Oh yeah, and we forgot to mention this pick has to be chosen. So it's not like, it will go into the drawing.
Yeah, no, this is like you watch this along with the other stuff as well. As for Jason, I decided, you know what? Since you already took out the Jobless Reincarnation, I'm going to replace an original pick from your plan to watch list and put in Heaven's Lost Property. Don't ask how I came across this. I just typed in like the harem tag on my anime list, and it just happened to be one that was popular and highly rated enough to check out.
Because if you don't know us by now, Jason is the type that agonizes and thinks about things that doesn't actually need that much thought, but decides to analyze and plan it for stupid shit like this.
I made a tournament arc for my one.
Fucking what the fuck? Okay, anyways, Will, can you do us all a favor and sort of tell the listeners the animes that could be chosen from your cleanup list and my cleanup list?
Yep. So going into mine, basically, I've got Golden Time that I need to watch, and then the other four that were in my plan to watch list are Promare, Silver Spoon, Barakamon, and Kiznaiver. Now, on top of that, I also have to pick out two from Jason's plan to watch list, which I'm actually really fucking excited for because it's got Aho Girl, Jinro, The Wolf Brigade, Prison School, F, A Tale of Memories, and Fune wo Amu, or The Great Passage. As for Jason, he's got a bunch of other stuff on his one, too.
No, go on, Will.
What do you say?
I was going to say that Will has mentioned that, it's from his plan to watch and my plan to watch.
Don't worry, we've talked about that before.
Okay.
So on Jason's plan to watch list, from the ones he needs to draw, so Heaven's Lost Property is going to be one of them. The other four are How Heavy Are the Dumbbells You Lift, The Demon Girl Next Door, 5 centimeters per second, and Nisekoi. And then from my plan to watch list that he needs to pick out, Sakimichi no Apollon, or Kids on the Slope, Gakutsuo, or The Count of Monte Cristo, Aria the Animation, Garden of Words, and Welcome to the NHK. I gotta admit, you've got some really good picks.
All right, here we go. So
you want to draw first, or I draw first?
You will draw first. Well,
okay. All right.
So I am going to have an actual bag with a bunch of tags in it.
So we'll start off with my plan to watch list, right? So that means I'm drawing 4.
No, your cleanup list. Yeah. I just realized that. Yeah. Okay. Hold on.
Yep.
Talk while I actually sort this out.
Yeah. So the reason why we did this is because rather than just pulling everything from our own plan to watch lists, let's be real. I've got a pretty long one, but Jason's plan to watch list is miles and miles and miles longer. So it would be kind of unfair if we continue to do the plan to watch our cleanups based on our own plan to watch lists. It just means that I will actually end up finishing mine sooner than Jason's, even though mine is still pretty extensive. So just to balance things out, it would be easier to have both of our Plan to Watch lists as part of the cleanup, just so that it'll open up for discussion, right? There's stuff that Jason's wanted to watch, but he hasn't had time to, and vice versa, which means that if we end up watching the shows that both of us have at some point wanted to continue, or the other person wanted to continue, then it just makes for a more sort of like objective, comprehensive kind of discussion, right? Because there must have been a reason why they were on the lists of one of us in the first place.
Right. So will draw now from his Plan to Watch list.
Right. So remember, this means that I have to draw either Promare, Silver Spoon, Barakamon, or Kiznaiver. I'm only picking one out of those four, so there's a 25% chance. I'm feeling Silver Spoon, but I'm also incredibly like open to watching anything. So let's see. Drawing from the bag, I will pick this one, and it is yes! It's Silver Spoon.
Okay.
Hell yeah.
So Will has now been chosen to...
I've been chosen. I
have been chosen.
I haven't ascended yet. I only ascend after I finish watching Silver Spoon. So that means that from my own Plan to Watch list, I'll be watching Golden Time, which is already predetermined from before, and then I just picked Silver Spoon, which means now all that's left for me to draw is from Jason's Plan to Watch list. As a reminder, Aho Girl, Prison School, Jinro, F, A Tale of Memories, and The Great Passage. I would lose it if I got
one at a time.
So the first one I get, I got Prison School. Oh yes. It doesn't matter anymore. I can get anything. It would be cool to get Aho Girl, and I got Aho Girl. You shuffled these, right?
You're the one who drawed it.
I got Aho Girl as well.
Yeah, so...
Fuck, I got some good ones.
Also, it's hilarious because you got Aho Girl and Prison School.
And I called them every single time I pulled them out, too.
Did you not remember when we drew it the first time, I was like, hey, bro, if I
got the double curves.
If I get Honey and Clover and no Dame Katsubile, I think I will just shit bricks. And you were like, I will lose my mind. And guess what? It did happen, right? So...
I mean, the anime gods have their way, right? They probably heard what I said and granted me my wishes. So, which one you want to do first? You want to do your Plan to Watch list or my Plan to Watch list for your draw?
Right now, I have to separate it, so it'll be real quick. So,
so just as a quick reminder, on my Plan to Watch list that Jason needs to pick out, Kids on the Slope, Count of Monte Cristo, RA the Animation, Garden of Words, and Welcome to NHK. And on the other side, from his own Plan to Watch list, How Heavy Are the Dumbbells You Lift, The Demon Girl Next Door, 5 centimeters per second, and Nisekoi. They're all really good. I've watched a few of them as well.
Right. We'll shuffle this up. This is your Plan to Watch list. I will pick it, though.
Shuffle. Okay.
All right.
Let's see what you get. And the first...
Wait. Can I call it?
What do you think? What do you want to watch out of that list?
I want to watch Aria.
I would love to see you get Aria as well.
And the answer is Garden of Words.
That's not a bad one.
And then my second pick would be... Aria.
Nice. Okay, I think of the 5 there, those 2 will probably be the most. Well, I don't know. Are you a Makoto Shinkai fan?
I mean, not like
Garden of Words is Shinkai,
not
right?
Like yeah, but not fanatically. But like the dude actually makes legit great anime films.
Very nice. Okay,
I mean,
Your
Name and Weathering with You. You can't deny how good those movies are in general.
Yeah, Shinkai is good.
All right, mix this up. This is from my Plan to Watch list.
Right,
and I can only pick one.
Is there anyone in particular that you'd be down to watch?
Listen,
they're all good at varying levels.
At this point, if I get Garden of Words and Aria, and if I get 5 centimeters per second, my anime cleanup is just going to be like the most depressing, emotional shit ever. And the answer is Nisekoi.
Okay. All right. Now, Nisekoi is actually...
That's great. Shaft is awesome.
It's a good one, but it is also 20 episodes.
For the first season?
I think it's just under 2 curves. If you go like a 10 episode curve, then yeah, it's 2 curves. I think it's 2 curves. I could be wrong. But here we go. We have finished our cleanup draw. Just as a reminder, I'll be watching Golden Time, Silver Spoon, Aho Girl, and Prison School.
Can we just say the fact that you have golden and silver is just like...
That, and also I got Aho Girl and Prison School, which is like... Everything is paired up very, very nicely. You've got some pretty good choices, too.
Yeah, this is not a bit. Like, it was completely random. So, Aria the Animation for me, Garden of Words, Heaven's Lost Property, and Nisekoi is my cleanup list.
Oh, this is going to be a good time. I'm really looking forward to Silver Spoon. I'm also really looking forward to Prison School for very different reasons.
All right, so that then concludes the first half of this episode.
Yeah, we're gonna go on a lunch break. Catch you guys later, and then we'll get into today's topic.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the second half of the Good Animated Palette Podcast. We're keeping that in because I'm just like, fuck this.
Food coma kicking in now?
Dude, it's episode number 30.
Man, I haven't done food delivery in weeks, and I'm so glad that Shake Shack is open.
I am your co-host, Jason. I'm joined, as always, as usual, with
By
100%.
100% beef and chicken will, because I ate so much fucking food just now. Jesus Christ.
It was great. I haven't had a burger in a long time. So.
I'm just glad that, like, despite all the lockdown measures in Hong Kong, there's still food delivery. So we're able to get some Shake Shack. Enjoyed a little bit of that. Watched a little bit of FreakAngels during our lunch break. If anybody's got their Crunchyroll subscriptions, check it out and cry with us because of how bad it is.
So this is not part of the main discussion topic. It's more rather a tangent, but FreakAngels is based off of a web comic by Warren Ellis. He's pretty well known for a bunch of stuff, some good, some bad. And Crunchyroll Studios, which I did not know existed until now, this is probably their debut work. I couldn't even find anything on them on My Anime List or anything.
Yeah, so FreakAngels came out literally January 2022. So 2 months from when this was released. This episode of the Good Anime Palette Podcast, which is good compared to FreakAngels, which is horrendous. Holy crap.
I'm not gonna lie, I actually have like a minor headache right now. Like not even like joking, bullshitting. Like it was terrible.
It was a rough watch, but let's just move on. Let's just go into like what we're actually discussing today, which is.
Wait, but before that, thanks to your mom for delivering some food to us.
Some sweets, right?
Some sweets. So
yeah, she's getting into baking a lot. So she's really down with making sweets and desserts for anybody.
So for people in Hong Kong who know Cantonese, Will's mother made a bunch of butzaiko. So it's kind of like this very Hong Kong local kind of snack. And
so it's like a jelly pudding kind of consistency with some red beans in there
and sugar,
lots of sugar.
So yeah, it's great. But that aside, our main discussion topic today is of a certain type of source, or rather, not any
we're
source.
We're talking about manga, right? We're talking about light novels, sources, and all that.
Yeah, visual novels or video games or game media. But what happens? What happens if, Will, there is no source?
So we're just going straight in the dark, like no predetermined stories, nothing that we are using from the past. We're just creating a fresh new script.
What happens when you create something out of nothing, Will?
So I guess we're going to be going into the world of originals.
And
right?
in this case, anime originals.
Yeah, this is something that we wanted to talk about because a lot of the shows that we go over usually have a manga, a light novel, visual novel, some sort of original like IP that the animation is based off of, right? So a lot of the stuff that we talk about, right, like the Monogatari series, that's based on a light novel. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, based on a manga. A lot of times, the stuff that we talk about does have a source of sorts, but the topic today is going to be going on stuff that doesn't use any sort of established intellectual property. It doesn't have anything that you can base reference or adaptation from. This is a fresh approach. Like, you might see some references like from other series, but it's not necessarily derived from them. We should spend a little bit of time sort of more maybe going over like what the definition of an anime original is, and then maybe go into why we want to talk about it.
So, as it always is on the Good Anime Palette Podcast's main discussion topics, definitions and what is a big difference in terms of how we go about a certain subject and how anyone else would go about a certain subject. Anime originals, at least according to us, is that there is no source available for reference or adaptation. So In other words, as Will mentioned already, there is no previous work where this anime is derived from. There is no previous manga, light novel, visual novel, game, music, whatever. There is just created originally out of whatever, or inspirations or so forth. There's no established intellectual property, also known as IP, attached to the anime.
Yeah, that doesn't mean it's like completely fresh, like never done before. Like that's not what we're trying to say. Like for example, like actually something I've been watching recently, Eureka 7, right? Like that is an original that's done by Bone Studio. However, it does feature mechas and robots. And if we think that, it's like, well, hasn't Gundam done that before? Hasn't Macross done it before? Mazinger Z have done it before? It's like, yes, but the story itself, the plot, isn't derived from the lore of Gundam or Macross or Mazinger. Instead, it's very much its own thing. It just so happens to have robots in there. And so we're not going to be like super hardcore with defining things as original, because there's always going to be inspiration from something.
In fact, you can even have a listen onto our discussion on this very topic of what is generic and what is originality in our Bits and Pieces number 5, which we have already released for you. And in there, we kind of go a little bit more in depth on, is being generic okay? Is being original okay? And at least in today's episode, we will go over the originals of anime origins, basically.
Yeah. So as with always, like originals, it's not just like something that exists within anime, of course, right? Like anime isn't everything, but for us, it is everything. But more specifically, when we look into like the grander scheme of things, you can see it in literature, technology, media. There's always going to be early innovations that essentially spark the beginning of a specific thing that was born out of necessity, right?
Or trend, or a bunch of things, right? So the other thing that I also want to mention is these anime originals, almost all of them, by definition, because they're originals, they started out as an anime. But that doesn't mean that is the be-all, end-all. There's plenty of instances where these anime originals then spawn offshoots, spin-offs of manga, light novels. So it can go the other way around, rather than the typical usual adaptation route that everyone is mostly used to.
Yeah, like the anime itself might be the kicking point for creating like a multimedia franchise. Like again, with the whole Eureka 7 thing, the anime came first, but then afterwards came the manga and also video games that were supposed to be attached to the property itself. So it can be that an anime is, I think it's as the original source for the other subsequent properties that come from it. So it's not always going to be like light novels are sources. Never like literature is always sources. Like it can be the other way around.
So it goes without saying. I mean, Will and I didn't really do a calculation of this, but I would obviously argue that a large portion of anime are not originals. I would say a lot of them, especially
so many,
especially very recently, and by recent I mean even within the last 20 years, most of them are derived from a source of either manga, light novel, visual novels, and a multitude of different things.
I mean, like, say, for example, like, if we're talking about, like, some of the classics, right? Like Neon Genesis Evangelion, Samurai Champloo, Cowboy Bebop, like Code Geass, Psycho-Pass. Like, these are, like, okay, Psycho-Pass and Code Geass, not that old, but they were definitely, like, made well over 10 years ago. In fact, like, if we're talking, like, Samurai Champloo, as well as Cowboy Bebop and Ninja E, these are, like, getting into 15, 20, even 25 years in the past. So we're talking like real classics. And I think it's just because of the fact that at the time there really wasn't as much information, there wasn't as much sources for these kinds of shows, for these kinds of properties. Therefore, it was easier to have more originals back then compared to now. I think like you could see that with like the way that, like Hollywood movies are done, with games being done. Like games nowadays are always like remakes of like Call of Duty or the Halo series,
or remastered, or sequels that have been long been left in the dust. For example, Halo came back.
How many remasters of like and like revamps of Disney series have we seen? Right, there's like Beauty and the Beast, there is the Lion King, there's Aladdin. Like every year, every decade, there's always something new based on something old, and so therefore it's like originality is kind of harder to come by. It's simply because we have so much shit now in our catalogs that it is harder to become more original. That doesn't mean that you can't be original now. It just does mean that you have to be a little more creative, a little more risky, and a little more open-minded with what you're trying to create.
Now, let's talk about why anime originals are so, uncommon, or in many cases, extremely difficult to come by. I think the most obvious thing is the thing of what makes something original, which is that there's nothing previous to base off of. Therefore, there is no adaptation. Therefore, there is no source, there is no reference point, there is no previous fan base to utilize. And at that point, you are sort of rolling the dice, so to speak, in terms of how successful your property would be. Think about it like this. Like, if you were to come to me as an anime executive and sign for ReZero, the anime adaptation, I would first be like, I really hate ReZero, but
everyone else loves the shit out of it,
and it's gonna print money, and we know this because the light novels have been
sell like
mass,
hotcakes, right?
And like everyone has been clamoring for it. Maybe we did surveys or something.
Think about how many cons there are and how many people dress up as Rem and Ram.
Right. So we knew, or like, oh, these character designs, it looks fantastic because it's a manga, so not ReZero, but
Like, you'd be stupid to not bank on success that you can already see, that has already tangible results, right? Like, if we look at previous seasons, for every season where there's an original, right? Like Wonder Egg Priority, like Akudama Drive, like Phoebe's Fluorite Eyes, right? There's always going to be 5 or 6 sequels of long-standing series like Attack on Titan, like Mushoku Tensei, like Demon Slayer. And then there's always going to be new stuff that is essentially being adapted from a light novel or from a manga, but they in themselves have huge fan bases, so it makes sense why an anime would also draw a lot of attention. And so therefore it does take a little bit of digging. Sometimes it may be like a leap of faith to find an original and actually watch it through. We've been lucky that the originals we watched so far have been good, but they're harder and harder to find nowadays.
And there's also a lot that flop too. But obviously, like, that's a different issue entirely. As a fan of any property, of any medium, when you hear that there is an adaptation, like, for example, let's take one of the biggest adaptations probably of all time in our generation, which is Harry Potter. If you were to tell me that the stories that I grew up adoring of, wizards and magic in Harry Potter is turning into this grand movie series, I would be hella excited.
I mean, the same with Lord of the Rings too, right?
Like, at least at the offset, I'm on board. Whether or not it's good or not, I would at least be like, well, Harry Potter, the books are good, so I'm still going to give it a shot. Whereas when it is an anime original in this case, the only thing you can really go off of is the staff and the studio that is behind it or their previous work. Other than that, you're just kind of be like, well, I'm just putting a little bit of blind faith in you.
I mean, you see like the hype train that is Chainsaw Man and how many people are jumping on it even though there has been no anime, and it's solely because of the fact of how popular the Chainsaw Man manga is.
I think Dress Up Darling is also an extremely good example that is like happening right now, which was Dress Up Darling is a manga that have been existed for several years, and a lot of people, including myself at that time, has been singing praises for that. And we, as manga readers, know what to expect. So then when the hype train happens, and rightfully so, it deserves it for both Chainsaw Man, even though it hasn't happened, but it's going to be great. And also with Dress Up Darling, it is just much easier for a committee to say, okay, let's greenlight this shit.
Yeah, whereas like when it comes to originals, you don't have that safety net. Like when you're going to execs and investors and saying, I want to pitch this story to you, and it's going to require an X amount of budget to greenlight and actually produce. There's no tangible results for you to say, actually, you know what, this could be a profitable thing to do, because most of the time, anime is not profitable. That's unfortunately the dark truth of the production of anime, and therefore when you're making original property, it does become harder to actually put forward a case for people to stump cash for you to produce something.
And furthermore, you might be known for Ghost in the Shell, for example, but you're also known for Vlad Love, which in this case is done by the same creator, but one is probably the classic greatest of all time animes ever, and the other one is the most forgettable vampire. I didn't even finish that anime because I was just like, the fuck is this? And they're both anime originals. So like, what the quality is so vast, but it's made by the same person.
Yeah. So then you go to like a studio, right? Or you go to like a investor or like a VC and say, hey, look, we want to produce something. We have two options. One, there's this grandiose story that's set in like fantastical England about mages and dragons, and it's a completely original script, and it's never been done before, and we need X amount of money. Or we've got this manga that's been selling around 1 million copies every few months, and we really think that if we get an anime adapted, we can boost those sales by an extra like 150%. Of course, you're going to go for the more profitable option. It's the safest option for someone who has money to be made there. So you're taking a risk when you're going to originals. Now, of course, there's always going to be a case of originals still working out, and that's why we have this as a topic. But that's the kind of hurdle that most production companies have to go through when they want, or even writers go through, that when they want to pitch an original script.
Furthermore, when it comes to producing anime, there is basically two routes, which is very obvious, but let's just go through it, which is the first route, which is the traditional route, which is through a committee, through production studios and like investors and so on and so forth. And that has always been the case and will continue to be the case for eons. The other route of funding, which has been getting a lot of attention recently and has also been more viable recently, is self-funding. So we're talking things like Kickstarter, GoFundMe, and this also pertains to not just anime, or not even just manga, but like video games and art books, almost everything under the sun. Self-funding or crowdfunding has become at least a more viable option. I mean, Will and I don't mind divulging into this. The Girl on the Other Side is one of the very good mangas that I've read ever. And Wit Studio is doing an anime adaptation and went to Kickstarter for it. Will and I, as the Good Anime Palette podcast, kickstarted this project. So we contributed some, obviously not a significant amount, but like enough to have our names on there.
But at the same time, it's still based on a very good manga, right? We're not backing something that was completely original. If we were presented with that, it would be a different consideration from us.
Like Little Witch Academia, which also went through similar Kickstarter crowdfunding options and opportunities. And in that case, it was an original property, except people tend to forget it was based off Little Witch Academia,
the OVA.
Exactly, which was kind of like their pilot to sort of test the waters. And then when it was successful to a certain degree, they were like, let's crowdfund it, and then it became successful.
It's like a one shot in manga, essentially.
Like Burn the Witch, for example, or something like that with the Bleach guy. And then all of a sudden now he has Bleach being not readapted, but continued, right?
Yep. So I guess like the major thing of why it's difficult for these original animes to start coming out, especially in like the modern day, is to do with budget, and it's also to do with the confidence that goes into the budget. It's always tough whenever anybody needs to take a financial hit. Say for example, so Manglobe Studio did Samurai Champloo, right? But they also did Samurai Flamenco. And apparently Samurai Flamenco was so bad and they put so much money into it that to this day, Manglobe hasn't actually like financially recovered from it. So there's always that kind of like issue when it comes to making anime for money and then operating at a loss and therefore having to recoup that loss, which tends to result in the closure of a studio. It's something sad, but that is like a harsh reality when it comes to anime production, not just for originals, but for anime in general.
One of Will and I's most favorite anime movies of all time is Redline. We have mentioned it numerous times. It's done by Production Madhouse, but that movie had to go through so much budget and changes that you can argue to a certain extent that it contributed heavily to basically almost a closure of Studio Madhouse.
Now, thankfully, Madhouse is still around, but it was troubling times.
Exactly. A lot of people tend to forget that, if something flops, yeah, it's a loss, but you can just recoup it with something else.
They got the money for it, right? Like, I mean, these execs are fine to be able to give them more money to work on new things and make up for the loss. Like, that's not the case at all, unfortunately.
A majority of animation studios are like living, in a sense, paycheck by paycheck, meaning that they don't have a war chest or funds hidden away somewhere that they need to dig out in a case of a rainy day. A lot of them, literally, if something flops, it's very close, or if not, game over.
And like, okay, so whenever like new studios pop up, a lot of times the number that we almost always see is 100 million. And by 100 million, we're talking about yen in funding. Now, that sounds like a lot of money, except that when you convert it to US dollars, it's just around $1 million US dollars. Now, we're talking about a company that produces animation on a global scale. Like, we're talking about people that are making things like any of the Trigger properties, right? Anything that's Bones. A lot of times, all that money goes into casting, into the workers' rights, it goes into production, it goes into 3D, it goes into 2D, it goes into licensing. That money is so strapped most of the time that in the end, like, you're basically running on fumes, and therefore the margins are super, super thin. So if you can't make something successful, it can be catastrophic for a company of any size, particularly when it comes to animation.
When it is anime original and there is no source or reference material to base off of, this then therefore goes into the double-edged sword of anime originals, which is creative vision and just creative input in general.
Yeah, you really got to have people that can bank on your vision and hope to make that a reality. But like, it's never that simple, right? Like, I can propose something to you, the listener, or to Jason, say this is going to work, this is great. But you also have like your own thoughts about how certain things should be done. Therefore, we will inevitably butt heads. There's no way that we can conclusively and objectively share creative vision without having some discrepancies along the way. And unfortunately, especially when it comes to original mangas, it can get a bit tedious and it can get very feisty.
Original mangas?
Original animes.
Okay.
Original mangas, yeah.
Mangas could be original for sure. In fact, a lot of them are. Furthermore, when it comes to these like character designs, people tend to forget about that. Character designs, concept footage, like all this stuff has to be fabricated from nothing. So therefore, extra money, attention, and literal thought, creative thoughts, have to go into how everything works. Whereas when there is a light novel even to base off of, yeah, sure, a lot of the light novels is text, but there's also pictures. But even if you just read the text, you will get a sense of what the world is like, what should be portrayed, what color a character's hair is. People forget, like, oh, a character's hair is not a big deal. Yeah, you're not wrong. But when it is an anime original, someone at some point has to make the decision of what colored hair these characters will have. And sometimes it's not a big decision, in this case of hair color. But then in terms of character design, it could be a make or break situation.
Yeah, they got to be small and petite, and they got to be quiet, but they also have to be assertive with their voice. They got to be, very like stern and cold. It's like, no, but like that means that you would need to make this character XYZ, ABC, 1, 2, 3, and then afterwards, like that's when you have creative clashes, and you end up like just stalling, and then you go into production hell.
Then comes into, really, unfortunately, the purpose of anime in the first place, which is advertisement for the source material. In many respects, the source material is the golden goose, and the anime is the one that gets all the attention, but is the one that also takes the loss in terms of overall profitability. But then that would spur people to either buy merchandise, read the manga, light novel, or whatever, or play the video game, so on and so forth, to recoup that cost or exceed that cost. Also, people tend to forget that the original creators, for these mangas, for example, like Demon Slayer, right? The mangaka, she probably earns a shit ton of money from this already, but it's through royalties. and it's nowhere near the amount of money that was earned overall. She probably has a decent cut and a very profitable amount of money, but in respect to the amount of actual money that was earned, it's like pittance, to be honest. And that's just the way it goes. So when there is anime original, like, where do you go from there, really?
Yeah, we've talked about this before. That the anime industry it's for profit. People will always do whatever they can to make money. That's the definition of a for-profit company. So I talked about this earlier as well. Like Hinamatsuri, right? So Hinamatsuri ran for around 10 years, and then like in 2018 released the first season. However, because Blu-ray sales didn't do very well and it didn't push manga sales any higher, there was absolutely no reason for them to produce a second season, especially after the manga was done. So there's always a bottom line for these production companies, for these investors, and if you don't meet them, especially when it comes to an original where you don't see any further profit driven from your property, there's absolutely no reason for them to even greenlight it in the first place. So that I think that is just like the tip of the iceberg. There's a lot of other reasons as to why it's difficult to make and produce anime originals, but we're just going over like I think some of the major hurdles that anybody, regardless of making originals or non-originals, like would experience.
And at least this is like the start of a very big discussion, but at least it's a start. And now at least you would have hopefully some more better understanding of the situation.
Yeah. So now that we've gone over like all the negative shit, right? Like why would anybody want to make an original anime at all?
So let's talk about the good shit rather than the shit, right? No, sorry. Rather than shit, let's talk about the shit, right?
Yeah.
So English is weird, guys.
We'll work through it. So I mean, like, let's be real. Some of our favorite series of all time, like believe it or not, are actually anime originals.
My favorite of all time is Teppen Tengen Gurren Lagann is an anime original.
Yeah.
Psycho Pass, Will and I adore it. Anime original.
Samurai Champloo, I love it. Cowboy Bebop, you love it.
Ghost in the Shell is an anime original.
Right. So
Neon
Genesis
Evangelion is an anime original.
Shit,
so
we just in the past year, right? VV as well as Akudama Drive were some of the most exciting shows we watched, and both were originals.
Sonny Boy is an original that I really, really like.
And there's certain things about these shows that like you can see works really well with them, compared to something that was already like an outstanding like source and therefore adapted into an anime or into like some other form of media. And I think it just comes down to like you really got to work your ass off on a creative level to be able to portray your idea that people can objectively appreciate. I mean, the fact that we're talking about Bebop, Champloo, NGE, Code Geass, Psycho Pass, like these are classics within the industry, within the community itself as well, and they are all originals. And it's because of the fact that the people behind it spent a fuck ton of time perfecting the script and getting everything right to be able to produce something that literally to this day people are still talking about. And let's not forget about Gurren Lagann as well. Gurren Lagann's fucking great too.
So anime originals, obviously, because it's original, have to exhibit a higher degree of not only creative freedom but also creative control over the whole anime in that is in discussion. I think that because if you were to adapt something, for example, well, let's talk about Demon Slayer. Obviously, it makes a lot of sense. What happens when I say Tanjiro is now a girl and Nezuko is a dude?
So they just gender swap?
Right. No, the very simple fact of gender swap, right? That is something that is like a terrible idea in terms of a creative change.
That, and also like the fact that the whole reason, a lot of reasons as to why Demon Slayer is so fucking popular is because of Nezuko. But if you change them to into a petite male character, like I'm not trying to like create gender issues here. It's just the fact that you create a cute girl and people love that shit. You all of a sudden change it, you retcon it. That's when like you need to wonder, like, is this actually like something the fans want? And unfortunately, I think that would go against what the fans would want. So
yeah, in general, adaptations is all about the faithfulness to the source. If in ReZero you were to change the hair colors of Ren and Ram, which are twins, but if you were to just swap their hair color, so not even like changing their personality or the way that they look other than their hair color, I'm sure a lot of people will be hella pissed off. And in many ways, they should be, because the thing that you are saying that you're adapting, you're not being faithful, and the choices that you made, which is in this case a simple color palette swap, is why, right?
It's actually it's funny now because hey, I'm gonna bring this up as like a sports example. There's a team in the UK called Cardiff City, and their colors have naturally been blue because their nickname is the Bluebirds. They have a new owner, and the owner that's coming. Actually, you know what? I don't like blue. Everyone's wearing red now. Immediately, the whole town started rioting because what the fuck is wrong with you? Why would you do that? Like, you literally took away the identity of something we were faithful to and then sullied it by using what you thought was the right vision. It's in the same way that we're talking about, like, if you swapped Rem and Ram around, right? Like, it sounds insignificant. It's just a color, right? But like, this is also the reason why people like these shows in the first place. You can't, like, twist someone's faithfulness in a property that you sold them on and then break their trust.
But in an anime original, there's none of that because there's no source.
Yeah. I do what I want because it's never done before, and I got to make it the way I like it, and hopefully you like it too. That's literally it.
The other thing that anime originals, we think, serve a lot of benefit is the profitability. I think in adaptations, they're mostly safe bets in terms of relative to their popularity and acclaim. An anime adaptation, usually of a source, has some sort of security blanket on it.
Like, you know, if a source already sold like 2 million copies, and then when you run the manga, the anime, it should boost it. Like, you're also basically using like info that would have given you that direction to go for it. But like, if you're making like a completely fresh movie, then therefore, like, it's kind of hard for you to gauge those metrics. It doesn't always work, but when it does work, it can hit box office numbers. I mean, the fact that like some of the highest grossing original like movies, anime movies in general, were originals, like Weathering with You, like fucking Your Name. I mean, any of the Hosoda and Shinkai movies also do really well box office wise.
Obviously, Miyazaki and Studio Ghibli have all these original anime films, even though they're based off of like Japanese folklore or, you know, that like loosely adapted from all these different tales. They are highly profitable with merchandise, mangas, and so on and so forth.
Yeah,
but
actually,
it started as original.
It's the latter half, actually. Like, for example, with like Ghost in the Shell, box office wise, Ghost in the Shell, not good at all. But Blu-ray sales, DVD sales, merchandise, that shit skyrocketed.
Yeah, Standalone Complex came way after the original movie and still is relevant to this day.
Like, box office wise, it made a couple mil, which is great, but Blu-ray sales and merchandise basically was 10 times higher than that.
And in the case of higher profitability, this ties also very well with the rights of the property, the intellectual property rights. Because it is an original property, the rights are then therefore not tied to a publisher or producer or, you know, it's mainly tied to either the creator or the studio that created it.
Yeah, so it's always hard to confirm those details because like contracts are always sensitive information, but usually there would be two parties, which is the writer or original creator and then the studio or production company in which you are working with. Now, of course, or whoever like owns is a license holder as well. So it can vary
depending on terms and conditions, right?
Right. But of course, you know, one thing that we should probably go into as well, because we talked a lot about them as well, is if you have your own studio, then like you as the original creator are also owning the rights as the production company too, right? So if you have, for example, like Hosoda and Chizu, Miyazaki and Ghibli, then you have like Shinkai and Comics with Films, which he doesn't own, but he works extensively with them.
What
right?
about Scientific Monkeys with Science Saru and Onyung Choi and Yuasa?
Exactly, right? Like there's always going to be, I mean, and also like Khan had like a really good relationship with Madhouse too.
Satoshi Kon. Yes, absolutely.
So it's like those kinds of things, like they do help to protect your IP. Say for example, like Satoshi Kon, like unfortunately he did pass away.
Rest in peace.
Right. But then one of his really, really good friends, Masao Maruyama, who works as he's actually the founder of Madhouse. Even he's gone out and said that like I don't have the blessing from Khan to release any of his other works posthumously, right?
I think it was Dream Machine or something.
Yeah. So it's like honestly, like, I would love to, but this still belongs to Satoshi Kon. He's not around, but his story still exists as an extension of him. So therefore, I in no right can make that decision without my friend here. And that's a really powerful thing to say, because you can't really say that as a business. In the end, like, you are driven by profit. You should be making money, but there are people in the industry that look at it. It's like, no, like, this actually goes beyond it. Like, this IP is Kon's. I have to protect that. Therefore, like, I'm not just going to profit off of it without him.
I mean, isn't there an instance where mangakas would go off to make another manga, and then their assistants would then therefore be the main mangaka, right? I think Boruto actually is like that.
Yeah.
And in this case,
Passing of the mantle.
yeah, passing of the mantle. And this happens a lot. For example, I think a lot of people like Quintessential Quintuplets. I think it's a pretty good manga with a lot of people who like the anime quite a lot.
Yeah.
The assistant is now doing his or her own manga series called Tying the Knot with Akagami Sisters or something. The point is that, like, because you have sort of like a sensei, or you have someone who's the original person, just because they pass off the mantle does not mean it will continue to be good, because the person who created it with all these visions and expectations and, you know, like, design sets, they're gone. So you can't just replace it with just anybody, even if it's someone who works very closely with the creator.
Yeah. I guess one last thing, well,
Oh,
at
yeah.
least just to go over in terms of what benefits there are in original anime and manga, or in this case, original anime. No spoilers.
Yeah. So this is a point that I think is extremely relevant.
I actually didn't even think about that.
Yeah, I put that in. It was very relevant for us as viewers or consumers of any media, which is, if something is original, there is no way that the internet can spoil you, unless if you're watching the series like after the fact, so then people will then know. There's no previous source to be like, oh, I can't wait for X character to die. That would be great. Other than speculation, because you literally don't know what would happen next, because it's an anime original. And I think I will always give props to anime original in the sense that, from a meta perspective, you can never be spoiled if you are up to date with it, like following it, right? Like,
Yeah.
like Wonder Egg Priority, week by week, we had to wait. There's no other choice, and we literally did not know what will happen. We can speculate, we can assume, but until the new episode drops or the finale drops, we don't know how things will pan out.
Well, more said about the anime and not the finale, actually.
Actually, the finale had a lot of expectations, because we literally don't know what it was, and then it turns out,
like 6 months later, we got fucking shit on.
But that's a very good example of
The creative side, right?
like the good and the bad within one property.
I just choose to believe that the first part existed and the finale doesn't exist at all. How are we doing on time? We should be okay, right?
I think we might need to skip a couple of things.
Should we just? I mean, one of the things we actually wanted to talk about within this segment was just like studios of note that were like very known to be, big contributors of anime originals. I think one that we've talked about many times is Studio Trigger.
All right, guys.
And previously known as, previously a team that worked under Studio Gainax, and then several years later that ended up breaking off and making their own studio.
I have to make a confession. Will did not force me into this. This is voluntary, which was when we were creating this episode, all I had on my mind was Studio Trigger, because I really like Studio Trigger's works, because most of them are originals.
Their originals are fucking good.
And they're fucking good. Promare is awesome. Kill la Kill is awesome. Gurren Lagann is awesome. Little Witch Academia is fucking awesome. So I have a huge... They're my favorite studio, along with Kyoto Animation, period. And then I said, like, oh, they are the studio that is well known for anime originals, which is correct, except there needs to be more to that, which is there are also other anime studios that are also well known for producing a lot of original anime. And Will wrote on the docket, and I will read this word for word. I wrote, to my knowledge, Studio Trigger is one of the few studios that produce original anime on a regular basis. Then Will wrote a bunch of stuff, which is basically.
I just wrote down your name was Jason Trigger Happy Fung.
And so I have to own up to that.
But it's true though. I think because we wanted to go a little bit into the history of Trigger and to an extent Gainax as well, because without Gainax there wouldn't have been Trigger, and without the two you wouldn't have had Gurren Lagann, which I would say is probably their best original, right?
Yeah, without Studio Madhouse you will not have Mappa, basically.
But basically once Gurren Lagann had come out, so before that they had done a lot of different originals, but since Gurren Lagann and I guess the downfall of Gainax, they only produced 2 original series afterwards. And there was also
3
other legal issues that came with it. What was the third one?
No, 4 actually. Kiznaiver.
Is that Gainax?
No, that's Studio Trigger.
I'm talking about Gainax.
Oh, Gainax. Sorry.
Gainax only produced 2.
Yeah.
Trigger,
sorry.
in the short period of time they had, actually produced a lot more, right?
Is it Gunbuster, the one?
It was one of them, I think. They just weren't very good. But they also had a fuck ton of other legal issues that we should not talk about because they're very, very bad. So outside of Trigger, there was also Studio Sunrise. Now, of course, it does come with a caveat that the majority of the originals they have are mechas. So, I mean, that's the kind of gray area when it comes to originality. But a lot of the stuff they do are technically studio originals. Then you also have Satellite Studios, PA Works. PA Works is huge. 62% of their catalog is anime originals.
I mean, I think Sakura Trick is an anime original. Aquatope on the White Sand is an anime original. Shiro Bako is an original. So yeah, they're all well known for cute girls doing cute things beautifully.
Originally.
And
then there's also one of the younger studios, which is Studio 3 Hertz, which I think similar catalog size as Trigger. So they're around 4 out of 9 of their productions are anime originals. So you're still seeing that with a collective effort, there are still studios that are producing anime originals, just not as much of a rapid pace as it used to be 20, 30 years ago.
All right. It has come to that time that instead of talking about more scholarly debates and historical analysis.
It's fun. I mean, it's nice to know where it all came from and why they exist. I mean, it's you don't really put much thought into it. What does it matter if something is an original?
I mean, that's the whole point of our main discussion topic, rather than just purely promoting more different varieties of anime. We also want to have a platform to discuss this either behind the scenes, things that take place behind the scenes, or a bit more, broader speaking, beyond the properties themselves. So
now we're going to go into our favorite parts, which is, as always, the recommendations. So we're going to be recommending 5 each of anime originals that they could be some of the most beautiful we've seen, some of the most out there in terms of absurdist or art house. They could also just be super cute and super enjoyable, or maybe like me, they're just incredibly bloody and violent.
When we were talking about the recommendations that we would suggest for this episode,
this is actually your idea.
I took it upon myself to categorize my 5 picks, and then Will kind of really liked that idea and categorize his 5 picks. And the titles that we gave our picks,
the categories are vastly different,
are hilarious towards how we go about doing things and our priorities. So
just a full disclaimer though, we're not going to be going over the stuff that we've talked about extensively in the past. So no Kill la Kill, no Gurren Lagann, no Psycho Pass, no Review Starlights, no Cowboy Bebop or Champloo. Most of these, if not all of them, are going to be fresh discussions, fresh recommendations, or at least maybe we've discussed in passing.
All right. I will start with my most acclaimed recommendation.
That's a very strong word, but go ahead.
A Place Further Than the Universe is the name of this anime. It's a winter 2018 anime produced by Studio Madhouse. And it is based off of nothing. Get it? Because it's an anime original. A Place Further Than the Universe. Will is is he laughing? No.
No, I'm just I'm very intrigued as to why you're calling it the one with the most acclaim. Most acclaim within the recommendations or overall in terms of all of originals?
On my recommendations.
Got it. Okay.
Because it has the highest MAL score.
Yeah, I was gonna say, damn, you're going to put that on its own pedestal when you have Psycho Pass. And
No. This is purely within.
But it is good 5. Though. No, I do. I mean, again, I've only watched 2 episodes. They haven't gone on the ship yet, or even whatever it's supposed to be taking.
A Place Further Than the Universe is about a bunch of high school girls going to Antarctica. And,
That's it.
And their various reasons for going to Antarctica is different. You see the journey that they had to make, literally, to Antarctica, even from setting up payment and finances, what to bring, what to wear, all the way to what takes place during the voyage and when they reach the destination. And it is probably one of the most powerful and inspirational, feel-good animes that is an anime original, period. Now, does that mean it's the most outstanding and most acclaimed? It's definitely up there. I mean, the fact that you are ranked 94 in all of my anime lists says quite a bit. But that is my choice for A Place Further Than the Universe. If you want something that is just really good,
just chill and relaxing, but at the same time very gorgeous too,
and impactful.
You have to like look at it and like just see this is it's a masterpiece. It looks fucking gorgeous.
I have to say though, fair warning, don't watch it now during COVID, because
oh man,
I've had plenty of people who watch A Place Further Than the Universe, and then their need to go out and explore the world significantly increases. And due to COVID, you can't really do that.
Well, unless you're in a country or like a place that allows for it. But even then, like you have to do it with a lot of caution. Whereas when you watch these girls who are so carefree and like not wear a mask whenever they're going around, like it makes you wonder, like when are you able to actually go out and enjoy what they're having?
I knew people who, after watching this anime, spurred them to book that ticket or book that trip to like that
just
extra.
See something.
Yes,
just go explore.
So take that caution, but it's still a very, very good anime. Will, what you got?
So the first on my recommendations, this is the winner within my list of the Sad Boy Hours Award, 91 Days. Excuse me for that. So 91 Days is essentially a crime action drama that was based in 1920s America, so during the Prohibition period. It was produced by Shuka Studios and the original script written by Taku Kishimoto. Now, the ranking itself it's decent. It's I mean, like, when I say decent, it's actually good. 7.83 ranked 810. So it's actually like, holding pretty steady. Popularity wise, it's also quite high with 262.
That's even higher than A Place Further Than the Universe. Think about that.
Yeah. So I'm not going to go too much into like the character names and all that, but the main reason why I like this is because well, first of all, we don't really have that many series that are based within that kind of period time, right? We have a lot of like Victorian-esque ones. We have a lot of sci-fi, cyberpunk, futuristic ones, and we have a lot of contemporary ones that are based like in today's world. But we don't necessarily have a lot that's based on like a whole century ago, a whole 100 years in the past. So it's basically during the Prohibition period, a lot of bootlegging of alcohol. There's a lot of triads and mafia that kind of run the undercity of what's based in the U.S. So they spend a lot of time between New York and Chicago, where a lot of mafiosos were running those towns, running those cities. It's a story about revenge. It's a story about trying to grasp on your own identity and traverse a world that is always against you because of how rough life is when you are not necessarily working with the triads, but working under triad rule, and therefore you have to make amends and find ways to be able to survive. It is quite depressing because it's not always like whenever you watch or read any of these kinds of suspense thrillers or these kind of crime actions, you're always rooting for the hero. You're always rooting for the main character. But when the main characters themselves are also really broken or they just don't have any direction and they're driven by evil impulses, it then sort of blurs the line of morality of like whether you're really rooting for the right person or whether the right person you have is acting on the right intent. And therefore that's why I gave it the Sad Boy Hours, because a lot of times when I was watching it, I just felt like it was really hard for me to justify a lot of the actions that the main character or any characters are doing. But because of how the story is written, you inevitably have to pick a side, or you could just be like just that bystander and just watch everything from afar. Whichever perspective you take, I think that 91 Days is definitely worth checking out. It's a fresh story. I think the other thing that's quite similar to it would be Bakuno. However, Bakuno is incredibly hard to access. I don't recommend anybody try buying it because it's really, really expensive. So if you want to look for something that's within that kind of period and, that's like a crime thriller, 91 Days will be up your alley.
For people who want an extra frame of reference, if you like the setting and the stories of Gangs of New York, for example,
yes, that's a good one. Yeah.
Is 91 Days is very much kind of the same vibe and setting and character developments and rough and brutal, visceral violence and just depravity, really.
It's very much the opposite when it comes to Place for the Universe in terms of palette, right? The color is very dull, like mostly brown and gray most of the time, but
and it rains all the time.
I mean, it's the same when you talk about like Peaky Blinders. It's very dark and gritty. It's the same with 91 Days. I think like the themes are very similar, so therefore like you don't necessarily want to have something that's very colorful. You want like the visuals to reflect the grittiness of the story.
My second pick, I categorize it as the most fun of my recommendations, and I thoroughly stand by that. This anime is produced in summer of 2017, produced by Actis and Studio 3 Hertz that we mentioned earlier. It is an anime called Princess Principal.
What's it based off of?
I don't think it's based off of anything, Will.
No way.
I think it's what's the term for something that doesn't have any source? An original,
a sourceless anime.
Sourceless anime.
Well, the stats are pretty good. 7.7 raw score, almost like top 1,000 in terms of ranking and popularity.
Yeah. With this show, it is cute girls doing cute things, but instead it is Victorian era spies.
Starting to see some trends here.
Oh yeah, it's not like the fluffy slice of life wholesome guy is gonna just keep pushing that, but you'll be surprised.
What were the tags? Comedy, shoujo, drama?
There's no comedy actually. There is no shoujo actually. It's also very cruel and a little bit bloody and grim. It's set in kind of this basically a fictitious London that got split from the Kingdom of London and the Commonwealth of London because they had a revolution against the royal family. And then there's a wall, believe it or not, that divides the Commonwealth and the kingdom. So instead of violence against the two sides at war, because they're at a truce, you use spies and information.
Some more like covert operations.
Exactly. And you get all these like Black Widow-esque girls who are actually spies. And then it talks about a team of them and the ins and the outs, the betrayals, the lies. It looks really good. It is the very steampunk kind of aesthetic. So if you like steampunk, there's a lot to be happy about. And it has that kind of battle, blood, blockade, standalone complex type of feel, which is it's about an ensemble cast. And then sometimes one episode would focus on a particular cast, a particular character, and then they work together on a mission, but then you know more about one character and so on and so forth, and then who's lying, who's not. It's really good. There's a lot of fighting and violence. There is, I think, episode 5 of 12, which takes place on a train, and the actions scenes are great. I had a lot of fun watching this show.
I mean, aesthetically, it looks pretty neat. I think like that's one thing that, of course, we should usually give merit to for originals, because like the first thing you notice about anything, whether it's like a manga or food or a book, it's like what you see, and therefore like the visual elements of an anime are always going to be something you want to discuss, and I think you would give them props, right, in terms of how it looks.
Also, way it sounds, because not only is the sound design of like the gunshots, the steam hissing are done so well, the OP it won the 2017 Crunchyroll Awards for Best Opening. And I stand by that statement because I stand by that win because the OP is awesome. One of the very few instances where the English is sung very well and actually makes sense.
So it's not English then?
It's not English.
Okay. All right. I'm going to do a little bit of a swap. We can do that later on at the end of this recording. But,
no problem.
The next show I want is the award I gave it, or at least the category I gave it, was Goofy Art House, because it definitely looks different from everything that we've discussed so far. I would say that character design and art style wise, it is very, very creative. It doesn't look anything like most shows I've watched before. The show in question here is Kaiba. Now we've talked about we've talked extensively about Masaki Yuasa during our After Dark episode and his relationship with Madhouse. So coincidentally, Kaiba was produced by Madhouse, original creation by Yuasa himself in partnership with Young Choi. So this came out in spring 2008. It is a 2-cour anime, I believe 2-cour. I think it was 2-cour. But the score is very high. I mean, like an 8.15 with ranking of 375. Popularity is not quite high, but it's still pretty decent.
12 episodes.
Okay, so it's a 1-cour. Yeah.
Is it based off of anything, Will?
I don't think so.
Okay, we should stop doing that.
It's based off of the inner workings of Masaki Yuasa, because as we discussed, a lot of the work, like for example, like Mind Game, we've talked about like Devilman Crybaby. A lot of the stuff that he works on is visually weird. It doesn't look very standard when it comes to comparing it to other like anime series, other manga.
Just
art
look at
styles.
Ping Pong, right? Like, Christ, that thing looks gorgeous and crazy.
Like, you would also say it's like not like a standard character design, but you don't really focus on that because in the end, like outside the visual aspects, the stories are always so fucking good. Now, Kaiba's like Minority Report meets Memento meets The Matrix, because it involves memories. It involves being able to, because a lot of people are sentient beings, but because of the fact that they are able to be powered by memory chips, you can pass on your consciousness from one body to another. Now that means that at that point, money doesn't necessarily mean a lot, but memories do. So therefore, you can always, like, if you have the money or the means to, you can create or alter memories and implant them on people, and therefore change their existence. So no longer are they who they are, because they're acting on what they remember. And if you don't remember anything, or if everything you remember is completely fabricated, then who are you really as a person? And so therefore, again, it's none of one of those like kind of like class system separation kind of stories, because you have you have an electric field, which is like a cloud in the middle that splits the bottom half of the people and the top half of the people. If the top half ever tried to rise further up, the electricity within those clouds fry your memory chip, and if you never backed it up, then your existence ceases to exist anymore. Money is then used to be able to either transfer memories or make copies of memories. And the whole story itself is very much focused on who you are as a person, and whether the memories you create or that you think you create necessarily portray the person that you are. And it's a very much like a very strong exploration, kind of like understanding of being, understanding of motive, understanding of what it means to have relations beyond like interpersonal and more like intrapersonal, like what lies within you. Because as we've seen with like The Matrix, Memento, Minority Report, not everything is always a scene on surface level. There's always something that's further deeper inside that person's mind, and Kaiba is like an example of that. It's very out there. It's a fun time. It does take a little while to get into because of how art housey it is.
Yeah, I think the art style, people would say that it is very cartoony,
and the story plot itself, it's so like irregular and so like abstract that it's not an easy concept to grasp for most people.
As Will sort of alluded to, and I watched a bit of it as well, it's actually very dark in terms of like sad themes. And when you think about it, it is very different than what you're seeing, because what you're seeing is like cartoony, kind of wacky. But if you think about what is being said, what is being done, it is hella fucked up.
It is a good time though,
and very
watching it.
thought-provoking for
It
sure.
is. It's definitely one of those more sort of introspective kind of shows where like you start like questioning yourself about like what it does really mean to be a human, what it does really mean to have and create memories. And I would give this a very strong recommendation. In the end, I think I gave it a 9 out of 10. The most I think for most people, at the very least, it'll be a 7. Right, so it's like it's still good. But like, you could get down with the themes and be okay with art style. I think you're in for a very good time.
It's funny that Will talked about Kaiba with memory manipulation and implantation
Is
because
that the next one you got?
my recommendation also talks about pretty much the same thing. I categorize this anime as the most thought-provoking, both literal and metaphorical in this
I
sense.
think that's pretty much like the basis of the whole anime. Yeah.
That's correct. It is a winter 2020 anime produced by NAS, which is a studio that has only 9 works to their credit, so they're not a very big studio.
Now, we did talk a little bit about ID Invaded before, but not like extensively. And I think this is a good time because I've watched it too and I really like it. But let's hear what Jason has to say.
So the anime in question is ID:invaded, so ID Invaded. If I were to condense the storyline of ID Invaded in one sentence, it is Minority Report and Criminal Minds mixed together. It is about a team of people whose job it is to hunt down serial killers and, put them behind bars. And the way that they do that is by sort of extracting kind of like their aura,
their consciousness,
aura?
right?
No, because
it's like they basically extrapolate like their mind, but then create an actual world out of it, and then they go in to explore and dive deeper to find clues or even traits of that person to help them solve a murder or to
origins to explain, right? And then it expands onto what is considered a murderer, or in very Minority Report fashion, like what makes a murderer, like what is considered okay if the means to get there is very sacrifices have to be made by innocent lives. Like, is it that okay? Or also like just how messed up some of these criminals, these serial killers can be. And it is at moments very gut-wrenching, isn't it, Will? Like the aesthetics are also very Danganronpa, Akudama Drive-esque. I think actually is designed by the same people, right?
Probably. I can check. Yeah.
Yeah, but the storyline it's basically that Minority Report people, but they hunt down serial killers.
Now, whenever we say it's like, oh, it's like this, it's like that, like we get it. We're talking about originals. We should be talking about like how original a script is, but in the end, it's just borrowing elements of what made those shows good. But ID Invaded has its very distinct flavor as well.
Yeah, because the worlds in which
they're very intricate.
The criminal serial killers they simulate those worlds of these criminals are really crazy.
Like
and
you might have like an empty landscape that's made out of tatami mats. You might have like a dry arid desert. You might have a world it's like imagine like you see Inception, except Inception is just creating cityscapes based on memory. This is actually like what it looks like to actually create an artistic recreation of someone's mind.
And these detectives, you can say, when they go through this mind simulation, this mind dive, I think is what they call it, they get killed like nonstop, because the world that they live in order to the world that they're simulated in order sometimes to find the motivation or where the killer went or where the killer is hiding their victims, they have to go through similar experiences in order to know, or this person is hidden behind bars, so then they simulate this in a jail cell, and then all of a sudden, like, I don't know.
It's like, imagine like one character is like has a near-death experience, which does happen in the anime, and therefore you're diving into the mind of somebody who's on death row, right? They would have known, okay, I've navigated this in my own mind. Therefore, if I'm diving into this person's mind, I should be able to traverse it and also make use of the clues that I find along the way. So it's a very sort of like real depiction of why people want to dive deeper into the minds of others, because it's always I can't read your mind, right, and you can't read mine, but it will always be nice, at least in these kind of instances, to sort of understand motivations and reasoning, and this is like a very like physical and visual representation of it.
And the detective work is legitimate detective work.
They're all ballsy as fuck.
Yeah,
dude.
like, and there are clues, and it feels like a journey that you go through. It's not like all of a sudden the main character sees something and then 360 no scope figures everything out of thin air. Like, you can really chart the progress and the progression of how they got to solving the case bit by bit, piece by piece. And I think ID Invaded is one of those shows that no one really thinks about right away, but everyone I know who watched it loves it to bits. I probably gave it an 8 or 9 out of 10. I don't remember.
It's a very strong anime. I think like it definitely it has a lasting impression.
Yeah.
So the next one I have on my list, which I swapped out a little bit earlier, I would call it beautifully violent. The beautiful violence category. Now, I think a lot of people have known that for the longest time, I've been more on the edgy, bloody, not really gory, but just more visually disturbing kinds of anime and manga, and this one's not that different. Actually, this is probably one of the earliest starts I got into my weebdom, into my anime journey. The show in question is Blood Plus. Now, it is a little bit of a cheat because whilst it is tagged as an original, it heavily borrows and is inspired from Blood the Last Vampire, which essentially is the same work, follows within the same world, but this is my podcast, this is your podcast, Jason. We can make rules, it's fine. So Blood Plus is produced by Production IG. The script itself was written by Junichi Fujisaku and debuted in fall of 2005. There is a slight issue with this in that it is kind of hard to find it, but you can find it. It's on Amazon Prime. You can also watch it on Tubi. Now, Tubi is a free to subscribe, free to watch platform. We're not sponsored or endorsed by them. This is just me coming across a platform that I think is quite nice. The anime would be dubbed though. There's no Japanese dubs. There's no like English subs for it, but there's English dub and English sub. So if that works for you, great. I think the English voice acting is fine. Now back onto the show itself. So it follows a young schoolgirl named Saya, who is living in a foster family in Okinawa. So you can immediately tell from the landscape that it's very bright, very sunny, clear blue skies every day. Not a lot of tall buildings and very floral like landscape where like you see a lot of different kinds of flowers, coconut trees, pineapple trees. Do pineapples grow on trees?
They grow on the ground. Will.
Yeah. Okay. Potatoes grow on trees. That's right. So
yeah, that's how that works.
Yes.
No, money does.
Money. Oh, exactly. You put money in the ground, and that's how they did it in Animal Crossing. That's right. So the show is very much focused on this young girl who has like instant flashbacks of a different life. Now, the thing is, she suffers from memory loss. She doesn't really remember what happened in the first 15, 16 years of her life. However, she constantly has nightmares, flashbacks of monsters, of vampires, of massacres and bloody executions. And sometimes it just triggers like a fight or flight kind of response in her. One day, she decides, oh, I left something behind in school. I'm going to go back and check it out. And then she encounters a monster. Someone that then decides to completely eviscerate and murder everyone in the school, and she starts freaking the fuck out. She then meets one of the main characters, who then gives her a sword, and then infuses her blood.
A katana, right?
It's really cool because it has like a little divot right where the hilt is. That is an incredibly powerful sword, a katana, because if you then douse it with the blood of a vampire slayer, you are then able to kill these chimeras. I forgot what the monsters' names were called, but it's a fun time. I can understand. It is a bit old. It came out almost 16 years ago. It is a very, very long series as well. It's 50 episodes compared to the other shows we've talked about. Most of them are one, if not at most two curves. But it is a really fun time. The action sequences are done brilliantly. There's just the right amount of gore and violence to the point where it's not gratuitous. It's actually like very beautifully. Let's just say the decapitations are not beautiful, but they do it really beautifully. Again, it's production IG. They did a really fucking good job.
And again, you're talking to Will here, so you know
I fucking love this shit. Not to mention as well, like because this is one of the first anime I ever watched. I also watched the movie too. The first opening, Aozara no Namida by Hitomi Takahashi. Personal favorite anime opening of all time. It's really hard to beat that. I know the whole lyrics of the song. I fucking love it. Look, just travel back in time and enjoy this shit because this is like a really, really fun, edgy anime that I think you, regardless of whether you like edgy or not, it's got a deep story. There is some pacing issues, but given the fact that it runs 50 episodes, it does have a little bit of liberty in terms of wanting to streamline certain things, wanting to lengthen certain things. It's just a fun. Imagine it's like Buffy but done better.
Okay, so I watched Blood the Last Vampire as one of like my most earliest consumption of anime. I have a very fond memory of it for sure. I don't think I've ever watched Blood Plus, or at least I don't remember. But the aesthetics and the storyline translates over quite well. The first thing I will say, though, is the name of those creatures is called Chiropteran.
Chiropteras, right?
Yeah. It's just like what? Okay.
Potatoes. They're called potatoes.
Also, it does say here her special katana.
Okay. Not just any old sword.
Yes,
but it is a fun time. Please go find it. Go buy the DVDs. Watch it on Tubi. It's fucking great.
Okay. Sorry. Well, I was freaking out earlier because the main trailer for Spy X Family just came out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay. So, and I think also we would have room for one more recommendation from your end and one more from me. I think.
Ooh.
So we can't do. So I know you're
okay. I know which one.
Okay. The most.
I mean, I'll say what the other one is, but I'll focus on the other one.
Sure. I will just go in depth into my fourth pick. And fortunately, it's our last pick for my end. The most ambitious anime among my recommendations is none other than a 2016 spring anime produced by Studio Trigger called Kiznaiver.
Is it because it's Studio Trigger you talked about this one? Because the other one I would have thought you'd gone with. Yeah, but you can go. Let's go with this first. So,
I don't think I have
a
a lot of opportunities to talk about Kiznaiver as much as the other one that I would probably more likely to talk about later.
Okay, yeah, fair enough.
Kiznaiver is a story that takes place over one curse. So I think there's 12 episodes. It starts off in one of those things where every bunch of people who don't know each other wake up. Then all of a sudden, through the speakers, there is someone saying that they're part of an experiment. And this experiment starts off rather simple, which is the pain of one person gets transmitted to another or everyone. And it's sort of like the social experiment thing where they're trying to see how these people would act. And then they slowly piece together the mystery behind it, the mysterious person through the loudspeakers, the storylines and backstory of all these different people that seemingly have nothing, in common with one another and bond together over this experience. The reason why I said it's very ambitious is because I have a soft spot for Kiznaiver. It has a 7.4 on my anime list, which is ranked 2002. But the popularity is 233. So there's
10 times better.
So it is huge difference in popularity versus critical acclaim. I think the ideas of this show is really powerful because it talks about what bonds do people have with one another, how strong can a bond be, and just because you have feelings and emotions transmitted from one person to the other does not mean that you know that person well, even if you know everything, or that also does not mean that you will be rejected by these people when they find out your deepest, darkest secrets or impulses. I think the message is very beautiful. The color scheme of Kiznaiver is extremely beautiful because each character basically has a color tied to them. And aesthetically, it just looks fantastic. The ending is very rushed, and unfortunately, because it's an anime original, I don't think there'll be a season 2 ever, nor is there a reason to. But it's one of those things where it is so ambitious, and even though they didn't really stick the landing, I still think it's a very good anime. Also, the opening of this series, Kiznaiver, is sung by a very, very famous group. I'm trying to find that right now. And this person, their last song was this song. And the opening for Kiznaiver is extremely... I would argue the opening for Kiznaiver is more well-known than the anime itself.
Oh, damn, okay. But it's a fun time nonetheless, right? Like if we take the OP away, like Kiznaiver itself is still a good time.
Lay Your Hands on Me by Boom Boom Satellites.
Okay.
It's a very... the person unfortunately passed away soon after. So it's a show that is very striking. The messages are very poignant and powerful. It's not flawless, but it's crazy because in a way, because it is flawed, it is really good because the message in of itself is if you're a flawed person, people will still accept you. So it's like this kind of weird meta thing that I cannot comprehend sometimes.
It's okay to be broken.
Yeah. So I really like this show, and I like Studio Trigger. So, you know.
I mean, it's obviously like everything put together, it just makes sense for you, right?
Yeah, a lot of people shit on this series, but I really like it a lot.
On to actually, do you want to talk about the other recommendation you had, like just by name, and then we can move on to the next one?
Yeah, my most heartwarming recommendation is The Moon is Beautiful, Tsuki ga Kirei, which has special meaning in Japanese because
Tsuki ga Kirei means the moon is beautiful, but it also means I like you or I love you, right?
Exactly. It is a 2017 anime produced by Studio Feel, which we also mentioned in earlier.
Yep.
Raw score 8.10, ranked 434. It's really good.
So for the show that I was going to recommend, but like we don't have time for it, I actually wanted to talk about Panty and Stocking with Garter Belt. It's a really fun, but also very controversial show. I think I'll talk more about it in our next recording, maybe when we're talking about our watch and read section. The main show...
Oh, yeah, we can totally do that, actually. Like, move our recommendations over.
Yeah,
we
move
can
it
do
over.
That. Yeah, sure.
Because we know time is short, but...
And we watched it, so...
The main one I want to talk about now is Recreators. Now, Recreators, I called it orgasmically trope-heavy because, before I get into that, it debuted in spring 2017, produced by Troika Studios. Now, the staff behind it, there's a lot of really big names. So, say, for example, if we talk about the director and part of the writing team, his name is A. Aoki. He was previously a director for Fate Zero, the first movie of the Garden of Sinners movie franchise, along with ID Invaded. So it's a household name. It's right here. So the other half of it, who was also the original creator and original character designer for Recreators, is none other than Rei Hiroe, who is also the original creator of one of my favorite series, Black Lagoon, which is also a fucking original.
So it's written and directed by like these outstanding people, but what about the sound?
Sound is this is the best part. Goddamn. The music composer for Recreators is Mr. Hiroyuki Sawano, and it definitely shows because the soundtrack is phenomenal. Now, if I say the raw score for the show itself, it's a 7.55, which by all means it's good. It's actually like on the way to being great in Mal. However, I felt it's not criminally underrated. I think like a lot of criticisms that the show gets, I feel like it's kind of missing the point of what makes the show great for me, right? So imagine like you have let's say you're on the train, you're on the subway, you're playing on your DS or your PSP.
Okay, trademarked. Okay, copyright.
Yep. And then also, Sony or Nintendo. Yep. But and then all of a sudden, like out of the blue, like whatever you're playing on, it starts glitching. You look up, there's a mecha warrior princess standing in front of you. Oh, 5 seconds later, there's a fucking like all-seeing omnipotent mage that shows up right behind her. Right behind you, all of a sudden, there is a fucking like Sailor Moon like magic girl that starts like casting spells and destroying things. And then you ever played Guilty Gear?
Of course I have.
You know Soul Bad Guy?
Of course I know.
Imagine he just shows up out of nowhere too, and he starts like fucking slicing and dicing people in half. That's what the show is. The premise of Recreators is it's a reverse isekai, where characters from different movie, game, anime, light novel, visual novel franchises start being portaled into the real world, in this case, real world Japan. And all of a sudden, they're like, well, what the fuck's going on? Why are we like this? And it turns out the reason why they were brought into this world is based on the level of popularity of these specific characters by the people in this real world. So the more popular a character is, the more likely they're going to be brought into this world. It's, in a way, it's kind of like the Fate series, because it's basically a reverse isekai battleground anime.
Wait, you're telling me that the director of Fate Zero decided to do an anime that is a reverse isekai?
That's why it's like it makes sense. That's why it makes sense, like why this shit worked. It's very tropey. It breaks the fourth wall a lot. And whenever you have a new character come in that's based on like a specific genre or a character archetype, and they play the trope and the fourth wall breaking to the max, it's so fucking enjoyable. It's just funny to see fucking like Soul Bad Guy from Guilty Gear duking it out with like the doctor from Monster.
It's like grabbing all your action figures from like your Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and your Power Rangers and your Transformers, and you pit them all against each other, and that is basically this anime, but with anime properties.
You ever play Fire Emblem?
Of course.
Okay, so imagine like one of the Night Princesses starts fighting off against like this. She starts fighting Hermione Granger.
Oh, and by the way, the first episode, they like cut no bullshit. They decimate like the city of Tokyo or whatever this fictitious city is. There's like missiles that flies everywhere. All of a sudden, like a mecha just starts like grabbing a sword and like destroying bridges. It's just crazy.
It's a really insane time. I understand though that for some people they feel that the fourth wall gets broken too much, that the pacing is kind of weird, and the main criticism is that the ending doesn't really wrap things up. But I feel like it does. If I go more into it, it will be spoiler territory, but like for me, like I absolutely love the show. I actually almost gave it a 10, but I had to dial it down a bit, and I think it was just because like I was giving a lot of props for the people who created it. I was giving a lot of props for Sawano making the music for it. Overall, it's a very wonderful package. It was a 9 out of 10 for me. Easily, like I think at the very minimum, it would be an 8, but of course, certain criticisms that come along with it, I can see why people give it a 7. But it's just, imagine, like Jason said, imagine all the toys and all the cartoons you watched as a kid. It's literally wacky races, but like with Fate characters, and coming from franchises across games and VNs that you never thought they would have a crossover. Well, this is it. It's the ultimate crossover reverse isekai anime.
Another thing that I think we should tell the viewers is it's 22 episodes, so it's 2 cours.
Yeah, and like that's where I think like sometimes the pacing can draw out a bit. There are certain episodes where things are a little bit slow, but I mean, like in the end, like I still enjoyed that because it allows for character discussion and development. And then like once you've had that breather, then all of a sudden you have Sailor Moon fighting out against like one of the main heroines from Fire Emblem. It's fucking crazy.
This is really interesting in terms of behind the scenes baseball, because when we were thinking of potential titles to check out for this episode, I was the one who wrote Recreators, and originally I was the one that was going to watch it. I then decided not to, and I think Will watched it kind of on impulse because he was done with a lot of his quote-unquote podcast homework, and it was just like...
This was like when I finished watching Kaiba, I finished watching Penny and Stocking with Garter Belts, and then afterwards, like, well, I only got 4. But I don't want to talk about Psychopaths, I don't want to talk about Code Geass, I don't want to talk about Black Lagoon, because I've talked the shit out of those already, so why don't I try something different? And Recreators came up. watched the first episode. Oh, it's kind of interesting, and then it got fucking crazy.
And then within the next 48 hours, I get nonstop texts from Will every once in a while being like, bro, like, this is crazy. I don't get why everyone hates on this. I don't get it. This is like awesome show. Jason, you gotta watch it. The fuck are you doing?
I know you will enjoy it. I can guarantee. I don't even need to put money on it. I can just guarantee that you will enjoy watching it.
All right. And that is the end of our recommendations and the end of our episode. A bit of housekeeping. You can always reach us through our email, gapalette@gmail.com. That's GAPALETTE @gmail.com, all lowercase, all one word. You can contact us on Twitter using the handle @PaletteGood. That's capital P and capital G, all one word. We have a Facebook page at www.facebook.com/PaletteGood, capital P and capital G, all one word. We have a website, www.goodanimepalette.com, all lowercase, all one word. It's awesome website. You can join us on Discord. Hopefully, we get a bunch of you on there and we can start talking shit about a bunch of stuff. We also have my anime list club for our podcast. You should join that too. Music credits for this episode. Our intro music is No Cry by Fashion. Our break music is Be Right There by Omie. And our outro music is Future Vibes by Kyo. Our music was provided courtesy of epidemicsound.com. If you're interested in using epidemicsound.com as a service, we will have a referral link for you that is provided in the show description. What's up, Will?
I really enjoyed doing this episode, mostly because it gave us an opportunity to watch stuff that like we've had on our lists for the longest time. I mean, that's the whole point in doing the closet cleanup series as well. But this is like, I mean, I wouldn't have imagined me watching Recreators. I for the longest time put off watching Kaiba, but I'm really glad that I watched both.
I think that any episode we have an immense amount of enjoyment, whether it is researching or watching. But I would say that anime originals have a soft spot in my personal anime 2D heart because the amount of risk
it takes balls and dedication
and creative reward and just expression, artistic expression of these creators, whether they fall flat, whether they succeed, I will never, ever take the bravery and balls and risk that these people potentially would take for the sake of producing what they want. I think like there's always going to be people who want to make original content for anime and manga, and sometimes like they get it right so well that they end up cementing themselves in history as the greatest of all times. In fact, I would argue that in the pantheon of anime and manga, actually not manga, in the pantheon of anime, the ones that are anime originals are the ones that everyone remembers to this day. I would argue that just comes to show. Doesn't mean that every adaptation anime is bad or lesser, but the most memorable to me are always anime originals.
I mean, like some of our favorites, right? Like Death Parade, Anohana, Kokia's Paranoia Agent. These are all originals, and like we should give them applause to the whole teams that, and also the investors that believed in this project, because without them, like, we would never see these things see the light of day. Now the thing is, with the upcoming season, which is spring 2022, we do have a fair amount of originals coming up. So for example, like Gunja no Fanfare, one that would be interesting, I think you have on your to watch list, right, which is Healer Girl. That one's done by Studio 3 Hertz.
Yeah.
I've also got we've also got Bubble coming up. The original
we forgot
movie.
about that too. Yeah, that is an anime movie that has a hell of a
craziest blockbuster staff. I'm super excited for it. I'm really, really excited for it. But yeah, there's still going to be more originals coming up. We will probably be talking more about them in the upcoming spring 2022 review. So yeah, stay tuned for that because and also I think Summertime Render is also no, it's not.
No, it's a manga on Jump Plus, Manga Plus.
Which else is there? There's Kyokai Senki, there's Healer Girl, then there's also the Penguin Drum and the Oddtaxi movies are coming out too.
Inuo, I think, is a movie that's
just a
coming
lot
out,
of good stuff coming up, and not all of them are like adaptations. There also is like a fair amount of originals that are coming out. So there's still hope that we're able to keep this original train going forward. Just keep an eye out, man. You don't have to keep looking for adaptations. Sometimes you might find a diamond in the rough and really enjoy it when you're watching a original anime.
Yeah, I think Will summed it up very well there.
So I think we'll wrap it up there. Thank you very much for listening to today's episode. We'll be back very, very soon. We'll be doing a lot more episodes, and then hopefully, once we get into the seasonal awards, I mean, based on the stuff you watched or the stuff you talked about, is there anything that you think will be more featured in the awards? Because I can tell you that Recreators is going to be like sitting pretty neat in the award section this year.
This think
season.
One show in particular maybe would be on one or two categories, but nothing solid yet.
There's still a lot of time. I think we got like 6 weeks. We got like almost 3 months before we do our seasonal awards. So until then, enjoy the rest of our catalog. We'll be back very soon with our next topic discussion. Meanwhile, everyone stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll catch you all very, very soon.
Stay tuned. Actually, don't stay tuned. Will and I are just going to watch the trailer for Spy X Family right after this. So
you do that too. All right? Bye.
Peace.